In a universe where fate made a single mistake, the boundary between worlds shattered on a night when the moon bled crimson across the European sky. The Predator ship tore through the atmosphere like a wounded god falling from grace. Inside the vessel, a lone Yautja warrior named Carthan clutched his bleeding side, green blood pooling beneath his feet. The hunt on the previous world had gone catastrophically wrong. His brothers were dead. His honor was stained. And now his damaged ship screamed through dimensions it was never meant to cross, pulled by gravitational anomalies his instruments could not comprehend. The crash came without warning. The ship carved through ancient Hungarian forest, trees exploding into splinters, earth tearing open like flesh. When the vessel finally stopped, buried half in rock and soil, Carthan pulled himself from the wreckage into a world that smelled wrong. The air carried scents he'd never encountered in 1,000 hunts across 100 worlds. Blood, old blood, ancient blood, and something else. Something that moved with intelligence in the shadows between the trees. He activated his biomask, scanning the environment. The readings made no sense. Life signs everywhere but wrong, cold, moving with patterns that suggested sentience but registered as deceased. His mandibles clicked in confusion beneath the mask. The pain in his side pulsed with each heartbeat, but pain was an old friend. He had survived worse. He would survive this. What Carthan did not know was that he had crashed directly between two territories that had been at war for 6 centuries. To the north, the ancient vampire coven of the Old World, led by the Elder Victor, maintained their fortress in the mountains. To the south, the Lycan Pax, growing stronger and more organized under Lucian's rebellion, controlled the forests and valleys. And in the middle, death dealers like Selene patrolled the borderlands, hunting werewolves with cold efficiency and colder hearts. The first to discover the crash site was a young vampire scout named Thomas. He approached the smoking wreckage with curiosity rather than caution, a mistake he would not live to repeat. His last thought, as invisible blades punctured his chest from behind, was that something had hunted him. Something faster than any Lycan, something that made no sound at all. Carthan studied the creature he'd killed. Pale skin, elongated canines, but the blood was wrong. It moved differently, tasted different when his biomask analyzed it. This was no human. This was something else entirely, and where there was one, there would be more. He dragged the body into the wreckage of his ship, beginning the ritual of taking his trophy. But as he worked, his instruments detected movement in the forest. Many movements, coming from multiple directions. The hunt had found him, and this time he was the prey they sought. Selene moved through the forest with the silence of death itself. She'd heard the explosion from miles away, felt the tremor in the earth. Now she led a team of 3 death dealers toward the source, expecting Lycan activity or perhaps a human vehicle. What she found instead stopped her cold. Thomas's scent ended at the crater, but there was no body, only blood and something else. A scent she couldn't identify, metallic, alien, wrong. Her team fanned out, weapons drawn. Marcus, the youngest, moved too far ahead. She heard him start to call out, then nothing, just silence, the kind of silence that came before death. Selene's enhanced senses caught movement in the trees above, but when she looked, nothing was there. Only the branches swaying, only the wind. But the wind didn't explain the green blood on the leaves. The wind didn't explain why Marcus's heart had stopped beating. "Fall back," she commanded, her voice cutting through the night. But it was already too late. The third death dealer, Adrian, simply vanished. One moment he stood 3 meters to her left. The next, gone, not even a sound, just absence where presence had been. Selene spun, both guns raised, her back against a tree. Her vampiric vision could see in near-total darkness, could track heat signatures in the cold. But this hunter left no heat, This hunter moved between the spaces where her senses could reach. This hunter was playing with her, and she knew it. Then she saw it, a ripple in the air, a shimmer like heat above summer pavement, moving, circling, evaluating. She fired both weapons simultaneously, 40 rounds in 2 seconds, tearing apart the forest where the shimmer had been. But when the silence returned, there was only splintered wood and torn leaves. No body, no blood, nothing. The shimmer appeared behind her. She felt rather than saw the massive presence, felt the displacement of air, felt the inevitability of death approaching. But Selene had not survived 600 years by accepting inevitability. She dove forward, rolled, came up firing. This time her bullets found something solid. The shimmer flickered, and for just a moment she saw it. Massive, armored, covered in technology she couldn't comprehend. And those eyes, burning like coals behind a mask that looked like the skull of a demon. Then it vanished again, and she was alone in the forest with only corpses for company and questions that had no answers. Carthan returned to his ship, intrigued. The female had moved well, fought with skill, showed no fear even facing certain death. This world grew more interesting by the moment. The pale creatures were predators themselves, apex killers with enhanced speed and senses, worthy of study, perhaps even worthy of the hunt. But his wounds needed attention first, and his ship needed repairs. He would observe, learn, understand this new battlefield before continuing the hunt. It was the way of his people, patience before action, knowledge before blood. As he worked in the wreckage, his long-range sensors detected something that made his blood run cold. Above the planet in orbit, his instruments picked up the faint signature of another ship. Not Yachtja, not human, something else, something that had been waiting, watching. The cosmic mistake that brought him here had not been random at all. It had been a trap, and he had walked into it like an unblooded youth on his first hunt. The question now was simple: who set the trap, and what did they want with a world where the dead refused to die? The news of Thomas and the death dealers reached Victor's fortress before dawn. The ancient vampire sat on his throne, fingers steepled, listening to Selene's report with the patience of something that had lived for over 1,000 years. "Invisible," he repeated, his voice like gravel over bone. "You're telling me something invisible killed 3 of my best warriors and you escaped by. What luck?" Selene stood before him, spine straight, refusing to show the fear that coiled in her gut. "Not luck, my lord, strategy. Whatever this creature is, it observes patterns, learns. I broke pattern. It was not expecting that." Victor rose from his throne, descending the steps toward her. Even after centuries of service, his presence still commanded absolute attention. "And the blood you brought back, the green substance our physicians cannot identify. It's unlike anything in our records, not human, not lichen, not anything that should exist on this world." Victor's eyes narrowed. "Then we are dealing with something that came from elsewhere, something that kills vampires as easily as humans swat flies." He paused, considering. "This presents opportunities." Selene's jaw tightened. She knew that look, that calculating gleam in Victor's ancient eyes. He wasn't seeing a threat, he was seeing a weapon. "You will capture this creature," Victor commanded. "Alive if possible, dead if necessary, but you will bring it before me. I would know what kills immortals, and I would learn to command that power." Across the forest, in the ruins of an old monastery that served as Lucian's headquarters, similar conversations were taking place. The Lycan leader stood before maps of the territory, listening to reports from his scouts. 3 werewolves had vanished in the southern woods, simply gone. No scent trail, no tracks, nothing. "It's Victor's doing," one of his lieutenants growled. "Some new vampire trick, some new weapon." But Lucien shook his head slowly. "No, Victor kills with purpose, with strategy. These deaths are different, random, scattered. This is something else. Something neither vampire nor lichen." Reyes, his most trusted friend and warrior, stepped forward. "Then what do we do?" Lucien's eyes reflected the firelight. "We find it before Victor does. Because anything that kills vampires and werewolves with equal ease is either the answer to our prayers or the end of everything we're fighting for." Carthan watched them all from the shadows. His ship's repair would take days, perhaps weeks. Until then, he was stranded in this strange world, and the warrior in him demanded he understand the battlefield. So he observed. He saw the pale ones, the vampires, moving with predatory grace through the night. He tracked their patterns, their hunting techniques, their social hierarchies. They were organized, sophisticated. They used weapons and tactics that spoke of centuries of warfare. He saw the beastmen, the lichens, transforming under moonlight into massive creatures of fur and fang. They fought differently, more savage, more primal, but no less effective. They hunted in packs, coordinated, communicated with howls that carried for miles. And he saw the humans caught between them, cattle to the vampires, slaves to some lichens, innocent victims to both. This world was at war with itself, had been for longer than Carthan's own lifetime. The realization stirred something in him, not quite respect, but recognition. These immortals were predators in the truest sense. They hunted. They killed. I survived. They were worthy prey. But the code demanded more than simple slaughter. The hunt had rules. Honor required that prey be given a chance, however small, that the challenge be real, that victory be earned, not gifted. Carthan began leaving signs, deliberate ones, a mark carved into a tree where a vampire patrol would find it, a lichen scout allowed to live to carry tales of the hunter in the dark. He was declaring himself, announcing his presence, inviting the response. It came faster than expected. Selene found the first mark 3 nights after her encounter with the invisible hunter. The symbol was carved deep into ancient oak, burned at the edges by some heat source she couldn't identify. It showed 3 parallel lines intersecting with a circle, a mark, a signature, a challenge. She photographed it, sent the image to Victor's scholars, but in her gut she already knew what it meant. The hunter wanted to be found, wanted the confrontation. This wasn't random killing anymore. This was personal. She assembled a new team, not death dealers this time. She would hunt alone. It was the only way to survive something that turned numbers into a disadvantage. The second night of her solo hunt, she found another mark. This one on the corpse of a lichen she'd been tracking. The werewolf had been killed with surgical precision, spine severed, throat cut, but the body left displayed, propped against a tree, the mark carved into its chest. A message the hunter knew she was following, approved, was guiding her. Selene's blood ran cold as she realized the truth. This wasn't her hunting the creature. This was the creature training her for something, teaching her to track better, move smarter, become a more worthy challenge. She was being groomed for the final hunt, and the hunter was patient enough to wait until she was ready. Carthan watched from his perch in the trees as the female vampire studied his work. She was learning quickly, adapting. Good. The hunt would be glorious when the time came. But first, he needed to understand more. The technology of this world was primitive, but the biology fascinated him. Creatures that drank blood to survive. Others that transformed their physical structure at will. Both living far beyond human spans. Both seemingly immune to normal death. His scans suggested their immortality had limits. Their regeneration could be overwhelmed. Their hearts could stop if trauma was sufficient. They were not truly immortal, just very, very difficult to kill. The challenge excited him in ways he hadn't felt in decades. Every hunt eventually became routine. Every prey eventually became predictable. But this world offered something new, something that could actually hurt him if he wasn't careful. He touched the wound in his side, still healing slowly. Too slowly. His biomask ran diagnostics, identifying contamination in his bloodstream. Something from this world was affecting his biology, slowing his natural regeneration, making him vulnerable in ways he'd never been before. The hunter had become hunted in more ways than one. This world was poisoning him slowly while he stalked its predators, a cruel irony that almost made him laugh. Almost. Instead, he began planning his next move. Victor wanted him captured. Lucien wanted him found. Selene wanted answers. And somewhere in orbit, something else watched and waited for reasons he couldn't fathom. The blood moon rose again, painting the world in shades of crimson. And in the darkness beneath it, three forces converged on paths that would reshape the immortal war forever. Carthan looked up at the bleeding moon and clicked his mandibles in grim satisfaction. The true hunt was about to begin, and this time, everyone was prey. The catacombs beneath Victor's fortress held secrets that even most vampires never saw. Selene descended into them alone, torchlight flickering against walls that remembered ages before Christ walked the earth. She'd been granted access by Victor himself, told to research everything they had on extraterrestrial phenomena, ancient hunters, and creatures beyond human comprehension. What she found disturbed her more than any horror she'd witnessed in 6 centuries of war. The archives spoke of old legends, tales dismissed as myth even by vampire historians, stories of hunters who came from the stars in ages past, beings who sought the strongest prey in all the worlds they visited. The texts were fragmentary, mostly destroyed, but enough remained to paint a terrifying picture. They called themselves Yotja. They valued honor above all else. They hunted for sport, for glory, for the proving of worth. And they had been to Earth before, many times, throughout human history, always during times of great conflict, always seeking the apex predators. One account, written in Latin so old even Selene struggled to translate it, spoke of a vampire elder encountering such a hunter during the fall of Rome. The battle had lasted 3 days. The vampire had nearly won. Nearly. The account ended with a simple line. The hunter took his skull as a trophy, and his clan never saw him again. Selene's fingers traced the ancient text. This was what stalked her forests, a creature that had hunted civilizations across the cosmos, that had killed beings far older and more powerful than her, and it had chosen this world, this war, as its new proving ground. The realization should have filled her with fear. Instead, something else stirred in her chest, a feeling she hadn't experienced in centuries: excitement. The thrill of facing something truly unknown, something that could actually end her immortal existence. She'd been going through the motions for so long, hunting lichens because it was her purpose, serving Victor because it was her duty. But when had she last felt truly alive? When had she last faced something that made her blood sing with the pure rush of survival? The hunter had awakened something in her. Something she'd thought dead and buried with her human life. The will to fight not out of duty, but out of desire. To test herself against impossible odds and emerge victorious or die trying. She gathered the texts, ascending back to the main fortress. Victor waited for her in his study, surrounded by his own ancient books and artifacts, His eyes glittered with anticipation. "What did you learn?" "That we're dealing with something far beyond our understanding," Selene replied, setting the texts before him. "These hunters have been visiting Earth for millennia. They're not invaders, they're sportsmen. They choose the most dangerous prey and test themselves against it." Victor's lips curled into something approximating a smile. "Then we should feel honored. It chose us. It's killed a dozen vampires and at least 8 lichens in the past week alone. We should feel terrified." "Fear is for cattle." Victor stood, moving to his window overlooking the courtyard below. "You will continue your hunt, but you won't kill it. You'll lead it to me. I want to speak with this creature, understand its purpose. If it hunts for honor and sport, then perhaps we can reach an arrangement." Selene's eyes widened. "An arrangement? It's a killer from another world. It doesn't negotiate." "Everything negotiates, my child. Everyone has something they want. Find out what this hunter desires and we control it. Fail, and we simply eliminate it like any other threat." He turned back to her, his face cast in shadow. "But I suspect this creature is smart enough to recognize opportunity when it's presented. We shall see." What neither Victor nor Selene knew was that Lucian had made his own discoveries. Among the humans his lichens had freed from vampire slavery was a scholar named Alexander, a man obsessed with ancient astronaut theories and forbidden knowledge. When Lucian described the invisible hunter to him, Alexander's eyes had gone wide with recognition. "The predator," he'd whispered, "the legends were true." Now Alexander stood before the Lichen Council, projecting images onto a makeshift screen, showing cave paintings from every continent. Each depicted similar figures, tall, armored, with skulls for faces and weapons beyond primitive understanding. "They've been visiting Earth for at least 10,000 years, Alexander explained, his voice shaking with excitement and terror. "Every ancient culture has stories of them. Sky hunters, star warriors, demons who walked among men during times of great violence. They hunt. That's what they do. That's what they are. And if one is here now during your war with the vampires, it means it sees this conflict as worthy of its attention." Lucian absorbed this information with the calm that made him a great leader. "Can they be killed?" "The legends say yes, but only by the strongest warriors. Only by those who prove themselves worthy of the challenge." Alexander paused. "In every culture the stories end the same way. The hunter takes trophies from the fallen, skulls, spines, sometimes entire corpses. It's a ritual, a mark of respect for worthy prey." Ray's growled low in his throat. "So we're being hunted by something that wants to mount our heads on its wall. Perfect." "Not mount," Alexander corrected. "Preserve. The trophies are sacred to them, proof of their prowess, evidence of the hunt. If you die to a predator, you live forever in its collection. It's the highest honor their culture knows." Lucian's jaw tightened. "I didn't survive slavery and lead a revolution just to become a trophy. We find this hunter. We end it before it ends us." But even as he spoke, Lucian felt doubt creeping in. This creature had decimated both vampire and lichen forces with ease. What made him think his people could succeed where others had failed? The answer came from an unexpected source. A young lichen named Singe, a scientist before his transformation, who'd been studying the green blood samples they'd recovered from attack sites. "The blood is acidic," Singe explained, showing Lucian his analysis. "But more importantly, it's vulnerable. I've identified several chemical compounds that cause adverse reactions. If we can weaponize these, we might be able to hurt it, slow it down, maybe even kill it." For the first time since learning of the hunter, Lucian allowed himself hope. How long to develop such weapons? "Days, maybe a week, but I need more samples, more blood. which means someone needs to make this thing bleed. Lucian and Reyes exchanged looks. They both knew who that someone would be. The strongest, the fastest, the one with the most to prove and the least to lose. Lucian himself. That night he went into the forest alone. He carried no weapons, no silver, nothing but his own strength and the beast within. If the hunter wanted sport, Lucian would give it sport, and in the process he would draw blood. He would bring Singe's samples, and he would show this cosmic killer that Earth's predators were not prey. The moon rose full and bright. Lucian stood in a clearing, threw back his head, and howled. The sound echoed for miles, a challenge and an invitation, a declaration that he was here, ready, waiting. The forest fell silent. Even the night birds stopped their songs, and in that silence Lucian felt it, the weight of attention, the focus of a hunter who'd heard his challenge and accepted. Somewhere in the darkness, Carthan smiled beneath his mask. The Beastman had courage, had pride. Finally, one of them had stepped forward to face him directly, without ambush or tricks or numbers. This was what he'd been waiting for. This was the hunt as it was meant to be, predator versus predator, strength versus strength, honor versus honor. He activated his cloak and moved through the trees, circling the clearing, studying his prey. The lichen stood ready, muscles tensed, senses alert. He could transform at will, didn't need the moon's light like the others. This one was stronger, more evolved, more worthy. Carthan considered his weapons. The wrist blades would make it too easy. The plasma caster would be dishonorable against an unarmed opponent. No, this fight demanded purity, equality. He deactivated his cloak, standing at the clearing's edge, fully visible. He removed his plasma caster, set aside his net launcher, kept only his wrist blades, and even those retracted for now. He wanted the lichen to see him, to understand. This would be a fair fight, a true test. Lucian's eyes widened as the massive figure materialized from nothing. Even without seeing the creature's face, he could sense its intent. This wasn't a hunt anymore. This was a duel. The hunter was giving him respect, giving him a chance. Lucian's body began to change. Bones cracked and reformed. Muscle expanded. Fur erupted across his skin. His face elongated into a muzzle filled with teeth designed to rend flesh. In seconds, the man was gone, replaced by a 9-foot creature of pure predatory power. Carthan clicked his mandibles in approval. Now they were equal. Now the hunt could truly begin. They charged simultaneously, two apex predators meeting in the center of the clearing with the force of colliding gods. The sound echoed through the forest like thunder, and in that moment, the war between vampires and lichens became irrelevant. The cosmic stakes became insignificant. There was only the fight, only the test, only the eternal question of who was the better hunter. The answer would be written in blood. The battle between Lucian and Carthan raged for hours. Tree trunks shattered from the force of their impacts. The earth itself bore scars from their violence. Blood fell like rain, red and green mixing in the dirt, creating patterns that would remain long after the fight ended. Lucian fought with everything he had. Centuries of rage, decades of slavery, years of rebellion, every ounce of strength his lichen body possessed. His claws tore through armor, his teeth found flesh. His raw power would have killed any vampire elder, any human warrior, any normal predator. But Carthan was not normal. He was Yautja, born into a culture where combat was religion, where hunting was art, where death was the only failure that mattered. He matched Lucian's savagery with calculated precision, met the lichen's rage with cold focus. For every wound he received, he delivered 3. But Lucian succeeded in his mission. Carthan's blood painted the clearing, enough for Singe's weapons, enough for analysis, enough to prove that the hunter could bleed, could be hurt, could potentially be killed. When dawn approached, Lucien retreated, not from fear but from strategy. He'd learned what he needed to learn. The hunter was mortal, had limits, made mistakes, and now Lucien's people would have the tools to exploit those weaknesses. Carthan let him go. The Beastman had fought with honor, had earned his survival. To kill him now would dishonor the duel. The code demanded better, demanded that worthy prey be allowed to live, to grow stronger, to provide an even greater challenge when they met again. As Carthan returned to his ship, nursing wounds that would take days to heal, he felt satisfaction deeper than any hunt in recent memory. This world continued to surprise him, continued to challenge him, continued to justify his presence here. But as he entered his vessel, his instruments delivered news that changed everything. The ship in orbit had moved, descended into the upper atmosphere, and it was broadcasting a signal, not random, not exploratory, a specific message, in Yautja. Carthan played the transmission, his blood going cold as he recognized the voice. Carthan of Clan Shadow, you are hereby declared bad blood. You have violated the sacred laws. You have allowed prey to escape. You have shown mercy where none was warranted. You have stained the honor of our people. The voice belonged to an enforcer, elite Yautja sent to eliminate those who broke the code. And the accusation was clear. Carthan's actions in his previous hunt, the one that had gotten his brothers killed, had been judged dishonorable by the Council of Ancients. This wasn't a mistake. The dimensional rift hadn't been an accident. He'd been sent here deliberately, marooned, left to die on a world of predators as punishment for his perceived crimes. And now an enforcer had come to ensure that sentence was carried out. The message continued. You have one solar cycle to die with honor. Take your own life in the traditional way and your clan name will be preserved. Force us to hunt you and everything you were will be erased. Your trophies destroyed. Your bloodline shamed for 10 generations. Choose wisely, bad blood. Carthan stood in silence for a long moment, processing this betrayal. Everything he'd done had been according to the code. He'd spared prey that fought with honor, killed only those who earned death, maintained the ancient ways even when his brothers had wanted to slaughter indiscriminately. And for this he'd been branded bad blood, marked for death, cast out from his clan and his people. Rage built in his chest, not the hot, chaotic fury of the Beastmen, the cold, calculated anger of someone who'd been wronged by the very system they devoted their life to upholding. The code was supposed to be sacred, absolute, but the council had perverted it, used it as an excuse for political maneuvering, twisted it to eliminate those who threatened their power. Carthan had known it was happening, had seen good hunters condemned while corrupt ones prospered, had watched the code erode from within while the elders pretended nothing was wrong, but he'd believed in the system, believed that honor would prevail. He'd been wrong. Now he had a choice. Die as commanded, preserving his name for a clan that had betrayed him, or live, fight. Show the enforcer that bad blood or not, Carthan was still Yautja, still a hunter, still worthy. The decision took less than a heartbeat. He would fight, and if he died, it would be on his terms, not theirs. But fighting an enforcer was different from hunting prey. Enforcers were the best of the best, chosen from the most skilled hunters across all clans, armed with the finest weapons, trained in arts that common Yautja never learned. They were to normal hunters what humans were to insects. Carthan was outmatched, outgunned, and wounded from his battle with Lucien. The logical choice was to flee, hide, run until he could repair his ship and escape this dimension. But logic had never driven the Yautja. Honor did, pride did, and Carthan's honor demanded he face this challenge head-on. Still, he wasn't a fool. He would need allies, help, resources, things this world could provide if he was willing to break another sacred rule: never involve prey in Yautja affairs. The code was already broken. His status as bad blood meant the rules no longer protected him. So why should he follow rules that offered no protection in return? A new plan formed in his mind, dark, pragmatic, entirely against everything he'd been taught. But survival demanded adaptation, and if the council wanted him dead, he would show them that bad blood could bite back. Victor received the message through Selene 3 nights later. A meeting. The hunter wanted to communicate, not through violence but through negotiation. The location was specified: neutral ground, no armies, just representatives. Victor's eyes gleamed with triumph. I knew it would see reason. Send word we accept, but prepare an ambush regardless. If negotiation fails, we capture it by force. Selene nodded, but doubt gnawed at her. Something felt wrong, too convenient. The hunter had been methodical, careful, calculating. This sudden willingness to meet seemed out of character, like a trap. But whose trap for whom? Lucian received a similar message through different channels. A human thrall, released into Lycan territory with instructions carved into his skin, the same location, the same time, the same promise of communication. It's obviously a trap, Reyes growled. Victor will be there, probably with an army. Then we bring an army too, Lucian replied. The hunter wants to talk, we listen, but we do it with overwhelming force, ready for anything. Singe interrupted, holding up a vial of luminescent liquid. I've completed the weapon. This poison will incapacitate the hunter's healing, make it vulnerable. If fighting starts, we can actually win. Lucian took the vial, studying it. Good work, but I don't think the hunter wants to fight. I think it wants something else, something we can't even imagine. Then what do we do? Lucian smiled grimly. We attend this meeting. We hear what it has to say, and we decide if Earth's predators are ready to make a deal with a devil from the stars. The meeting ground was an abandoned church, burned during early conflicts between vampire and Lycan forces. Stone walls crumbling, roof open to the night sky, an altar desecrated by violence and time, sacred ground made profane by war. Perfect neutral territory. Victor arrived first, with Selene and a dozen death dealers hidden in the ruins. He stood before the altar, confident, commanding, every inch the ancient lord. Lucian arrived from the opposite direction, Reyes at his side, 20 Lycans positioned in the shadows. He stood in the nave, powerful, defiant, every inch the revolutionary leader. They saw each other across the broken church. Old enemies, ancient hatred, but tonight something else united them: curiosity, fear, the unknown. Carthan materialized between them, his cloak deactivating with a shimmer of disturbed air. He stood at the altar, looking from vampire to Lycan, his biomask analyzing them, his presence dominating the space despite being outnumbered 40-1. Silence stretched. No one moved. No one breathed. The moment balanced on the edge of violence or something far more dangerous. Understanding. Then Carthan did something neither faction expected. He removed his biomask, revealing his face to them fully, mandibles clicking, eyes reflecting firelight, scars crossing scars crossing scars, the face of a warrior who'd survived 1,000 hunts and wanted them to see the truth of him. He gestured to the sky, to the stars beyond, and in broken English learned from analyzing their communications, he spoke his first words to the immortals of Earth. Bad blood, hunted, need help, you help me, I help you. Together we kill enforcer, together we end war, together we survive. The proposition was insane. Alliance between vampire, lichen, and alien hunter. 3 predators working as one. Against what? Against everything they knew, everything they believed, everything that made them what they were. Victor and Lucien exchanged looks across the ruined church. Centuries of hatred, generations of bloodshed, all of it would have to be set aside for this to work. But the alternative was simple. The enforcer would kill Carthan. Then it would leave, and the war between vampire and lichen would continue as it always had, forever, until one side was extinct. Unless this was the moment everything changed, the cosmic mistake that brought new possibilities, the chance to reshape the immortal world. Victor spoke first, his voice echoing through the ruins. What can you offer us, Hunter? What makes you worth the risk of alliance? Carthan's mandibles clicked in what might have been a smile. He activated a holographic projector showing them schematics, technology, weapons, knowledge from 100 worlds, power beyond their comprehension. Give you stars, he said simply. Give you weapons, give you future, or give you nothing, and watch you die slow, forever, war never ending, choice is yours. Lucien stepped forward. And if we help you kill this enforcer, what then? You leave, return to your people, or do you stay here hunting us forever? Another click, another gesture, this one harder to read, regret, resignation. No people, bad blood means alone, clan gone, home gone, stay here, make new home, new clan with you, if you accept. The offer hung in the air like smoke, a warrior from the stars asking to join their world, to become part of their war, to reshape everything they knew about their own conflict. Selene felt her heart race, a sensation she'd almost forgotten. This was madness, complete insanity, but it was also possibility, growth, change, everything her stagnant, immortal existence had lacked for centuries. Victor considered with the patience of ages. Lucien weighed the risks with a revolutionary's pragmatism. And between them, Carthan waited, a hunter at the mercy of his prey for the first time in his long, violent life. The decision would reshape the world. The wrong choice would doom them all. The right choice would birth something new, something unprecedented. Something that might actually end an endless war. Outside the church, the lewd moon set, and in orbit above, an enforcer prepared his weapons, ready to cleanse the stain of bad blood from his people's honor. Unaware that below, prey was becoming predator, and predator was becoming something else entirely. Something that would make even an enforcer's blood run cold. The alliance was made not with handshakes or contracts, but with blood and necessity. Victor agreed to a temporary ceasefire. Lucien agreed to share intelligence, and Carthan agreed to teach them what he knew about fighting an enforcer. But trust was not given, not yet, perhaps not ever. The first test came within days. Carthan needed resources to repair his ship's critical systems, components that didn't exist on Earth, materials that had to be synthesized or substituted. And the only place with the industrial capacity to help was deep in lichen territory, in the underground facilities where Lucien's scientists worked in secret. Victor sent Selene as his representative. Watch him, the ancient vampire commanded. Learn his weaknesses. If this alliance fails, I want to know how to kill him. Selene understood the unspoken order. She was a spy as much as a diplomat. But as she traveled into lichen lands, following Carthan's massive form through forests that had been enemy territory her entire immortal life. She felt something shift inside her. Curiosity overcame caution. Questions replaced orders. "Why did you spare me?" she asked as they walked. "In the forest, that first night, you could have killed me easily." Carthan's mandibles clicked. His English was improving rapidly, his translator device learning from every conversation. "You fought well, showed no fear, worthy of life, worthy of hunt another day. So I'm still prey to you, just prey you haven't killed yet. All things are prey, all things are hunter, even I am prey now, to enforcer, to you maybe if alliance fails." He paused, looking at her with those burning eyes. "But prey can become pack, prey can become clan, this is what I hope." The words unsettled her more than threats would have. The idea that this alien killer saw her as potential family rather than food was both disturbing and oddly touching. She'd served Victor for 600 years and never felt the warmth this creature spoke of with simple honesty. They reached the lichen compound as night fell. Massive reinforced doors built into the mountainside. Guards with silver ammunition and eyes that glowed in the darkness. When they saw Selene, weapons raised immediately. Death dealer in their territory meant war. But Carthan stepped between them, his presence stopping the violence before it began. "She is with me, under my protection. You harm her, you break alliance. You break alliance, I break you." The simple threat, delivered without malice or anger, carried absolute conviction. The lichen guards looked at each other, uncertain. Finally, one spoke into a radio. Minutes later, the doors opened. Lucian waited inside, Reyes at his side. He looked at Selene with barely contained hostility. "Victor sends his pet death dealer into our home. Should I be honored or insulted?" "Neither," Selene replied coolly. "I'm here because I know technology. I can help repair his ship. Can you say the same?" The challenge hung in the air. Lucian's jaw tightened, but he nodded slowly. "Singe is our expert. He'll work with you both. But Death Dealer, understand this. You're here on sufferance. One wrong move, one hint of betrayal, an alliance or not, you'll learn why Victor fears my kind." "Victor fears nothing," Selene shot back. "Least of all revolutionaries who hide in caves." Carthan's growl cut through the rising tension. "Enough. No time for pride. No time for old hatred. Enforcer comes soon. Days, maybe hours. We work together or die separate. Choose." The blunt pragmatism shamed them both into silence. Lucian gestured down a corridor. "This way. And pray your presence here doesn't get us all killed." The underground facility was far more advanced than Selene had imagined. Laboratories, computer systems, medical equipment. The lichens weren't just rebels. They were scientists, engineers, thinkers. Victor had underestimated them catastrophically, and seeing the truth made Selene question how many other lies she'd been fed over the centuries. Singe met them in the main lab, eyes widening when he saw Carthan's massive form ducking through the doorway. "Extraordinary," he whispered. "The physiological differences alone could fill volumes. The muscle density, the skeletal structure. This is evolution on a completely different path." "Later," Carthan rumbled. "Now we work." He produced components from his damaged ship, laying them on examination tables. Strange crystalline structures, metals that seemed to shift in the light. Technology so advanced it looked like magic. Singe and Selene worked in unconscious tandem, their scientific minds overriding their political differences. She understood energy stems and power distribution. He understood biological integration and adaptive materials. Together, with Carthan's guidance, they began the painstaking process of adapting Earth technology to alien needs. Hours passed, then days. They worked in shifts, sleeping in the compound, eating together in awkward silence. Slowly, understanding replaced suspicion. Not friendship, not yet, but professional respect. Recognition that they were all brilliant in different ways, all dedicated to solving an impossible problem. On the third night, exhausted and frustrated by a power coupling that refused to integrate properly, Selene found herself alone with Singe in the lab. He was studying samples of Carthan's blood under a microscope, his expression troubled. "What is it?" she asked, curious despite herself. "His biology is fascinating but also tragic." Singe looked up, meeting her eyes. "He's dying, slowly. This world's atmosphere contains compounds toxic to his species. Every breath is poisoning him. His natural healing is fighting it, but it's a losing battle. 6 months, maybe a year, then organ failure, death." The revelation struck Selene harder than expected. Does he know? "I suspect so. He's a warrior, not a fool. He must feel it." Singe paused. "Which means this alliance, this fight against the Enforcer, it's his last stand. He's not planning to survive it. He's planning to die with honor and maybe accomplish something meaningful before the end." Selene absorbed this information, feeling unexpected empathy. She understood dying slowly. Every vampire did. They were immortal, yes, but static, unchanging, already dead in ways that mattered. Carthan was alive, vital, burning bright before the inevitable darkness. In that way, he was more alive than she'd been in centuries. "We need to tell Lucien," she said quietly. "If Carthan is dying anyway, it changes the calculus, changes what he might be willing to sacrifice." "No," Singe shook his head. "We keep this between us for now. The hunter has pride, dignity. Let him have that, at least until we must take it away." She nodded slowly, and in that moment, something shifted between vampire and lichen. Not alliance, not friendship, but understanding. Recognition that they were both trapped in systems not of their making, fighting wars they didn't start, and for once, they had a choice to do something different. The coupling finally integrated on the 5th day. Carthan's ship systems came back online, limited but functional. Sensors, communications, defensive systems, enough to detect the Enforcer when it came, enough to fight back perhaps. Carthan stood in the center of the lab, surrounded by vampire and lichen scientists who'd worked together to achieve the impossible. His mandibles clicked in what they'd learned was satisfaction, possibly gratitude. "You have my thanks," he said formally. "My ship lives because of your skills. My honor is in your debt." Lucien entered the lab at that moment, having been summoned by Rays. He looked at the activated alien technology, at Selene working alongside Singe, at the unlikely cooperation that had somehow succeeded against all logic. "The Enforcer?" he asked simply. Carthan activated a holographic display. A ship appeared, descending from orbit, massive, heavily armed. A vessel built for one purpose, extermination. 3 days, maybe 4, then it comes. Then we fight. Then we see if Alliance is strong enough to survive what comes next. Lucien studied the display, his tactical mind already working. "We'll need to coordinate, share forces, create a unified defense. Victor won't like it." "Victor will accept it," Selene said quietly. "Because I'll make him understand. This isn't about vampire or lichen anymore. This is about survival, all of us." Carthan looked at her, and for the first time she saw approval in his alien eyes. "You learn quick. Think like Hunter now. Like Pack. Good. You survive this, maybe you lead your people to better future." "I'm not a leader," Selene protested. "I'm a soldier. A weapon Victor points at his enemies." "All leaders start as weapons," Carthan replied. Question is whether you stay weapon or become the hand that wields it. The words resonated in the silence. Singe and Selene exchanged looks. Lucian's expression was unreadable, but something had changed in that underground laboratory, some fundamental shift in how they saw themselves and each other. The enforcer was coming to kill a bad blood, but what it would find instead was something unprecedented, something dangerous, something that might just rewrite the rules of this entire world. Upstairs in the forest above the compound, Rays stood watch with a team of lichens. They scanned the tree line, alert for threats. What they didn't see was the small probe watching them from orbit, recording, analyzing, sending data back to the enforcer's ship. Data that showed exactly what Carthan was doing, who he was allying with, how he W. as breaking sacred laws. The enforcer, a hunter named Dajti, studied the information with growing disgust. Bad blood was worse than reported, not just dishonorable, treasonous, teaching prey Yacha secrets, sharing technology, creating alliances that violated every fundamental principle of the hunt. This was not just execution now. This was cleansing, purification. And when Dajti descended, he would not simply kill Carthan. He would eliminate everything the bad blood had touched, every ally, every accomplice, every witness to this heresy. Vampire, lichen, human, all would burn, all would be trophies, all would serve as warning to any other Yacha who might consider such betrayal. Dajti activated his weapons systems and began his descent. 3 days, as Carthan predicted, but the bad blood's predictions ended there, because Dajti had brought more than himself. He'd brought a ship full of weapons, drones, technology specifically designed to kill things that should not die. The enforcer was not coming to hunt. He was coming to wage war, and he would show this primitive world what happened when you harbored bad blood. The message was simple: death, total, absolute, inevitable. But what Dajti didn't know, what he couldn't anticipate, was that his prey had learned from the best hunter in the galaxy, had studied under Carthan, had become something more dangerous than either vampire or lichen alone. They had become pack, they had become clan, and they would defend their own with the ferocity of predators who'd finally found something worth fighting for beyond ancient hatred. The war was about to begin, but this time everyone was armed, everyone was ready, and everyone understood that this battle would determine not just who survived, but what they would become in the aftermath. Evolution waited in the darkness, and it wore many faces. Victor's throne room had never held such a gathering. Vampires and lichens stood side by side, uneasy but unified by necessity. Death dealers checked their weapons next to werewolves sharpening claws. Ancient enemies preparing to fight as one against a threat neither fully understood. Selene stood before Victor, making her report. The old vampire's expression remained neutral, but she saw the calculation in his eyes, the weighing of options, the eternal question of what served his interests best. "You're telling me," Victor said slowly, "that this alien hunter is dying, that his people have condemned him, and that an even more powerful hunter is coming to kill him and possibly us as well." "Yes, my lord." "And you believe our best chance of survival is to fight alongside lichens, creatures we've been at war with for 6 centuries, based on the word of a dying alien who has already killed dozens of our people?" Selene met his gaze without flinching. "I believe our best chance of survival is to recognize that the old war doesn't matter anymore, that something bigger than our conflict has arrived, and that if we don't adapt, we'll be extinct before the next blood moon." Silence filled the throne room. Other vampire elders watched, waiting for Victor's response. This was unprecedented, A death dealer, his most loyal servant, advocating for alliance with their mortal enemies. Victor rose from his throne, descending the steps towards Selene. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of centuries. "You've changed, my child. I can see it, smell it on you. This hunter has infected you with ideas, made you question the order we've maintained since before you were born." "He's made me question what we're fighting for," Selene replied. "Whether our war has any purpose beyond itself. Whether we're immortals or just very old prisoners, trapped in cycles we're too proud to escape." Victor's hand moved faster than human eyes could follow, striking her across the face hard enough to crack stone. But Selene remained standing, blood trickling from her lip, eyes never leaving his. "I should execute you for such words," Victor said coldly. "I should make an example that would remind everyone why they fear me." "But you won't," Selene's voice was steady. "Because you know I'm right, because you've already calculated the odds, and because deep down you're curious. You want to see what happens when vampires and lichens fight together. You want to see if we can actually kill an enforcer. Because if we can, you'll take that knowledge and use it to expand your power in ways you've only dreamed of." A smile ghosted across Victor's ancient face. "You presume much, Selene." "I presume nothing. I know you. I've served you for 600 years. I know how you think, how you plan, how you survive." She paused. "And I know you're already planning how to betray this alliance once the enforcer is dead. But I'm asking you to wait, to see what we can accomplish first, then make your decision." Victor stared at her for a long moment, and something like respect flickered in his eyes. "Very well, we'll honor this alliance. For now. But Selene, understand this. If you're wrong, if this costs us more than it gains, your immortal life will end in ways that make death look merciful." "I understand, my lord." "Good," Victor returned to his throne. "Then let us prepare for war." In the Lichen compound, similar conversations were taking place. Lucian stood before his council, facing questions and challenges from wolves who'd spent lifetimes hating vampires. "We can't trust them," one elder growled. "Victor will betray us the first chance he gets. This is suicide." "Maybe," Lucian agreed, "but it's also opportunity. We've been fighting vampires for so long we've forgotten what we're really fighting for. Freedom, the right to exist, to not be slaves or prey. This enforcer threatens that. It sees us as animals to be hunted, just like the vampires did, just like humans did before we were turned. So we trade one master for another challenged." "No," Lucian's voice hardened. "We prove we're nobody's prey, not vampires, not aliens, not anyone's. We fight, we win. And we show this universe that Earth's predators bow to no one." Ray stepped forward. "And if the hunter is lying, if this is all some trap?" "Then we die fighting," Lucian said simply. "But we die free. We die as wolves, not sheep. And maybe, just maybe, we take enough of them with us that the survivors think twice about ever hunting us again." The logic was brutal but effective. These were lichens, creatures who understood violence and survival in their bones. They didn't need pretty speeches about honor or duty. They needed to know the fight was worth having, that the risk was balanced by reward. Lucian provided that certainty. Not through false promises, but through cold truth. Fight and maybe die. Don't fight and definitely die. The choice was obvious when framed that way. The vote was unanimous. The lichens would honor the alliance. Carthan watched the preparations from his ship, his sensors monitoring both factions. He saw the Death Dealers training with new weapons designed to harm Yotja biology. Saw lichens drilling in coordinated tactics rather than their usual pack chaos. Saw Singe and vampire scientists sharing information, creating contingency plans, building weapons that merged both species' strengths. It was beautiful in its way, deadly, efficient, everything the hunt should be but rarely was. These immortals learned fast, adapted faster. Given time, they would become truly formidable. But time was the one resource none of them had. His sensors detected the Enforcer's ship breaking atmosphere, descending toward their location with purpose and precision, 2 days ahead of schedule. Either Dajti was more eager than expected, or he detected the alliance and decided to strike before it solidified. Carthan activated communications, broadcasting to both vampire and lichen bases. He comes, now, all forces to defensive positions, all plans active. This is no drill, this is hunt. The response was immediate. Death dealers poured from Victor's fortress, taking positions in the surrounding forest. Lichens emerged from their underground compound, transforming, spreading out to cover approaches the vampires couldn't reach. And between them, Carthan stood at the center, his ship's weapons online, his own arsenal prepared. 3 predator species, 1 battlefield, against an enemy designed specifically to kill the unkillable. The Enforcer's ship didn't land. It hovered 300 meters above the forest, a massive black shape that blotted out the stars. Weapon ports opened. Targeting lasers painted the landscape in red, and a voice boomed from speakers, speaking Yautja but translated by Carthan systems for all to hear. Bad blood Carthan, your time has ended. You have broken the sacred code, allied with prey, shared our secrets, dishonored our ancestors. I am Dajti, Enforcer of the Council. I come to cleanse your stain. Surrender now, take your own life, and your allies will be spared. Refuse, and I will burn this forest and everything in it to ash. Carthan activated his own speakers, his voice carrying across the battlefield. I am Carthan of Clan Shadow. I have broken no code. I have honored the hunt in ways the Council has forgotten. You want me dead? Come down here and earn it. Or are you too scared to face bad blood who fights back? The insult was calculated. Enforcers were proud, arrogant, certain of their superiority. Challenged directly, they would respond personally rather than use overwhelming firepower. It was a gamble, but it was the only chance they had. For a long moment, silence. Then the ship's weapons powered down. A single pod launched, descending rapidly toward the clearing where Carthan stood. It hit the ground with enough force to crater the earth, and from the smoke and debris, Dajti emerged. He was massive, larger than Carthan by half. His armor was pristine, unmarked by battle polis. He to mirror brightness. His weapons were state-of-the-art, the finest Yautja technology could produce. And his biomask bore the sigil of the Enforcer Cadre, a mark of ultimate authority. He looked at Carthan, then at the vampires and lichens surrounding them, and he laughed, a harsh, clicking sound that held nothing but contempt. This is what you ally yourself with, bad blood, corpses that walk and beasts that pretend at intelligence. I will kill them all, and I will make you watch. And then when you beg for death, I will give it to you slowly, piece by piece, so that everyone knows the price of dishonor. Carthan said nothing, just activated his wrist blades and settled into a fighting stance. Selene raised her hand, signaling the death dealers. Lucian howled, a sound taken up by dozens of lichens, and as one, the Alliance charged. The Enforcer met them with calculated brutality. His plasma caster fired in controlled bursts, each shot finding a target, each hit fatal. Death dealers fell with holes burned through their chests. Lichens exploded as superheated plasma ignited their bodies from within. But for every immortal that fell, 2 more took their place. They swarmed Dajti from all sides, overwhelming his defenses through sheer numbers and coordination. Vampire agility and lichen strength combined in ways the Enforcer hadn't anticipated. Selene fired Singe's specialized ammunition, rounds filled with the chemical compound that disrupted Yacha healing. They struck Dajti's armor, cracking it, allowing lichen claws to tear through to flesh beneath. The Enforcer roared in pain and fury, spinning with his extended wrist blades, cutting through 3 lichens with one strike. But Carthan was there, catching Dajti's arm, stopping the blade centimeters from a 4th victim. The 2 Yacha locked together, mandibles clicking in rage, testing each other's strength. "You side with prey," Dajti snarled. "You shame everything we are." "I side with warriors," Carthan replied, "something you've forgotten how to recognize." They broke apart, circling each other while chaos raged around them. Vampires and lichens buying their ally time, dying to give him a chance, proving through sacrifice that they were more than prey, more than animals. They were pack, they were clan, and they would defend their own. Dajti's next plasma burst was intercepted by Rays, who threw himself in front of the shot meant for Carthan. The lichen leader's second-in-command died instantly, his body vaporized. But his sacrifice gave Lucian the opening he needed. The lichen revolutionary in full werewolf form leaped onto the Enforcer's back, claws digging into damaged armor, teeth finding the junction between helmet and neck. Dajti reached back, grabbed Lucian and slammed him into the ground hard enough to shatter bone. But Lucian held on, his jaws locked, tearing through cables and circuitry. The Enforcer's biomask sparked and failed. His face was exposed, and for the first time, uncertainty flickered in his eyes. Carthan didn't hesitate. He charged forward, both wrist blades extended, and drove them into Dajti's chest. The Enforcer gasped, green blood spurting, but he wasn't finished. With his last strength, he activated his self-destruct device. The countdown began. 10 seconds. 9. 8. "Everyone run," Selene screamed. "He's going to detonate." But Carthan made a different choice. He grabbed Dajti, locked his arms around the Enforcer, and activated his own ship's tractor beam. The 2 Yacha were yanked into the air, rising rapidly toward the hovering vessel. "No," Lucian howled, but it was too late. Carthan and Dajti disappeared into the ship. Seconds later, an explosion lit the night sky like a second sun. The ship detonated, taking both hunters with it. Debris rained from the sky, flaming metal crashing into the forest. Silence fell. The battle was over, the Enforcer was dead, but so was Carthan. Selene stood in the clearing, looking up at the burning sky, feeling something she hadn't felt in centuries. Loss, grief, the pain of losing someone who mattered. Lucian limped toward her, reverting to human form, his body covered in wounds. They looked at each other, vampire and lichen, united by shared trauma and impossible victory. "He saved us," Lucian said quietly. "Knew he was dying anyway, made it count." "He was more than a hunter," Selene replied. "He was." She trailed off, unable to finish. What had Carthan been? Ally, friend, something else entirely. She didn't have words for what she felt, for what they'd all lost. But as the fires burned and the dead were counted, and the impossible alliance stood victorious over an enemy that should have destroyed them, one truth became undeniable. Everything had changed. The old war was over, and what came next would reshape the immortal world forever. The only question was whether they would build something new from the ashes, or burn each ot. Her trying. 3 days after the Enforcer's death, Selene found the message. It was carved into the bark of a tree near the blast site, written in the angular symbols Carthan had taught her to read. 3 words that changed everything. Not dead, underground. She ran. The explosion had been real. The ship had detonated, but Carthan had activated the tractor beam at the last second, pulling Dajti up while simultaneously ejecting himself sideways. He'd fallen into the forest canopy, his armor absorbing impacts that would have killed anything else. Wounded, burning, dying faster now from the toxins in Earth's atmosphere combined with new injuries. But alive. Selene found him in a cave system beneath the battlefield, surrounded by wreckage from both ships. He was working with damaged tools, trying to construct something from the debris. When she entered, he didn't look up. "Knew you would find," he said, his voice weaker than before. "Smart hunter, good tracker. Everyone thinks you're dead. Why hide?" "Because not finished. More come." He gestured to a partially assembled device. Dajti sent signal before death, told Council of Alliance, of prey fighting back. They send more, maybe many more have to be ready. Selene felt ice in her veins. How many? Unknown, but enforcers travel in packs when threat is great. Could be 3, could be 10. He finally looked at her and she saw the pain in his eyes. "Your alliance not ready for that, not ready for full Yachu assault. Need time, need weapons, need me to teach more." "You're dying," Selene said bluntly. "Singe told me. This world is poisoning you. How much time do you have?" Carthan's mandibles clicked softly. "Weeks, maybe days now after explosion, but enough to prepare you, enough to give Alliance chance." He paused. "Unless you tell others, unless Victor decides Alliance over, then all die. Quick, clean, no chance." The weight of the choice settled on Selene's shoulders. Keep this secret and give Carthan time to prepare them. Reveal the truth, and watch the Alliance collapse as vampires and lichens return to their eternal war, unprepared for what was coming. "I won't tell," she said finally, "but others will wonder, will investigate. How long can we hide this?" "Long as needed. You help me, bring supplies, bring students to train. I teach them to kill Yacha, teach them to survive what comes. Then when ready, we reveal truth. We face new threat together, or we die together, either way with honor." Selene nodded slowly. "What do you need?" Over the following weeks, Selene became a spy within her own faction. She diverted resources from Victor's armories, smuggled technology to Carthan's hidden cave, and most importantly, she selected individuals from both vampire and lichen ranks who could be trusted with the truth. Singe was first. The lichen scientist had suspected Carthan's survival anyway, had noticed the pattern of missing supplies. When Selene brought him to the cave, he examined the alien hunter with clinical fascination. "Your cellular degradation is accelerating," Singe observed. "Another month and your organs will begin to fail. There's nothing I can do to stop it. Earth's atmosphere is fundamentally incompatible with your biology." "Know this," Carthan rumbled. "Accept this. Question is what I do with time left, how I make death matter." "Teach us," Singe said. "Everything. Hold nothing back. Give us every advantage you can before the next hunters arrive." And so the real training began. Carthan taught them about Yacha culture, honor codes, hierarchy, the difference between blooded hunters, elite warriors, and enforcers. He explained how Yacha thought, how they hunted, how they could be predicted and countered. He taught them about the technology, how cloaking devices worked and could be disrupted with thermal weapons, how plasma casters tracked targets and could be fooled with decoys, how biomasks filtered information and could be blinded with specific light frequencies. But most importantly, he taught them how to think like hunters, how to turn every environment into a trap, how to use their own bodies as weapons, how to fight not with rage or fear, but with cold calculation and absolute focus. Selene absorbed every lesson like a desert drinks rain. She'd been a warrior for centuries, but Carthan showed her she'd only ever been following orders. Now she was learning to lead, to think strategically, to see 10 moves ahead instead of just the next kill. More recruits joined the secret training. Marcus, a death dealer who'd survived the first Enforcer battle. Sonya, a young Lycan female who moved with uncanny grace. A dozen others, vampire and Lycan both, united by the knowledge that their survival depended on transcending old hatreds. They trained in the cave system during the day, sleeping in shifts, eating what Selene and others smuggled in. At night, they returned to their respective factions, pretending nothing had changed, living double lives, becoming something neither vampire nor Lycan alone. They became hunters. But secrets have weight, and weight eventually becomes unbearable. Victor noticed Selene's absences, her distraction, the way she looked at him now with calculation rather than obedience. He said nothing, but he watched, waited, planned. Lucian noticed similar changes in his people. The Lycans Selene had recruited became quieter, more focused. They stopped participating in the usual pack dynamics, instead forming their own unit, their own tribe within the tribe. Both leaders began to suspect betrayal, and both began to prepare responses. The alliance, already fragile, started to fracture. Vampire patrols went missing, and each faction blamed the other. Resources disappeared from both sides. Trust eroded day by day. And through it all, Carthan continued teaching, his body failing, his time running out. He knew the alliance was breaking, knew that when the next enforcers arrived, they would find a divided force. Easy prey. Unless he did something drastic. On the 40th day after the first enforcer's death, Carthan's sensors detected ships entering the system. 3 of them. Not enforcers this time. Full hunting parties. Blooded warriors seeking glory by killing the bad blood who'd slain Dajti. They would arrive in 72 hours. And when they did, they would find either a united force ready to defend itself, or scattered factions tearing each other apart. Carthan made his decision. He activated his ship's remaining communications array and broadcast a message to both Victor's fortress and Lucian's compound. No encryption, no secrecy, just truth. This is Carthan. I live, I hide. I train your people in secret, not to betray you, to save you. 3 ships come, 3 hunting parties. War you cannot win divided, only together you survive. Meet at cave, see truth. Then choose, unite or die. Choice is yours, always has been. The message sent, Carthan collapsed against the cave wall, the effort of transmitting having drained what little energy his failing body still possessed. Selene caught him before he fell. "What have you done?" she whispered. "Given them choice," Carthan replied. "No more lies, no more secrets, just truth. Now we see what truth makes them become." Within the hour, both Victor and Lucian were moving toward the cave, bringing armies. Not because they trusted the message, because they smelled betrayal and wanted to crush it before it metastasized. The trained warriors, vampire and Lycan both, prepared to defend their teacher, to protect the secret they'd kept, to fight their own leaders if necessary. The stage was set for a 3-way battle. Vampire against Lycan against the trained hybrid unit. And in the center, a dying alien who tried to save a world that might kill itself before the real enemy even arrived. Selene looked at the trainees surrounding her, Marcus checking his weapons, Sonya stretching in preparation for transformation, a dozen others ready to die for something they believed in, for a teacher who'd given them purpose, for a future different from the past. "Can we stop this?" she asked Carthan. "Can we prevent this battle?" Maybe, the hunter replied, if you speak truth, if you show them what you've become, if you prove alliance works by being alliance yourselves. He paused, coughing green blood. Or maybe all die. Maybe this is end, but at least we try. At least we fight for something real. The first arrivals appeared at the cave mouth. Victor, flanked by death dealers. His face was a mask of cold fury. Explain, now, before I execute everyone in this cave for treason. From the opposite entrance, Lucian emerged with his lichens. His expression matched Victor's. I should kill you all where you stand, consorting with the enemy, training in secret, plotting who knows what. Selene stepped forward, placing herself between Carthan and the two leaders. We weren't plotting. We were preparing for what's coming. 3 ships, 3 hunting parties, and we're the only ones who know how to fight them because we're the only ones who learned. Learned what? Victor demanded. How to be more than what we were, more than vampire or lichen alone, how to be what this world needs to survive. Lucian snarled, pretty words from a traitor. Then watch, Selene replied. She nodded to Marcus and Sonya. Show them. The 2 warriors moved to the cave's center. Marcus, vampire, Sonya, lichen, natural enemies. They'd fought each other's kind for lifetimes, but now they moved in perfect synchronization. Marcus provided covering fire while Sonya transformed and closed distance. Sonya's powerful strikes created openings that Marcus exploited with precision. They fought as one, each compensating for the other's weaknesses, amplifying each other's strengths. It was beautiful, deadly, unprecedented. Victor and Lucian watched in silence, and for the first time, both leaders saw the same thing, possibility. The alliance wasn't just a temporary truce. It was evolution, the birth of something new. How many have you trained? Victor asked finally. 47, Selene replied. Vampire and lichen both, the best from both sides. United by one purpose, survival, not yours, not Lucian's, ours, all of ours. Victor looked at Lucian. The lichen leader looked back. Centuries of hatred hung between them, but also recognition, understanding, the knowledge that their personal war didn't matter anymore, that something bigger had arrived. Show us, Victor said. Show us everything this hunter taught you, and then we'll decide if your betrayal was treason or the smartest thing anyone has done in 600 years. Carthan smiled beneath his mask, mandibles clicking softly. The choice had been made, not the easy choice, not the comfortable choice, but the right one. The alliance would live, and together they would face what came next, as one force, one army, one people forged in fire and blood and impossible necessity. The hunt intensified, but this time Earth's predators were ready. The training of the combined forces began immediately. Victor and Lucian put aside their personal animosity, at least publicly, to focus on the approaching threat. Carthan, growing weaker by the day, pushed himself beyond his limits to prepare them. The cave system became a military academy unlike any in human history. Vampires learned pack tactics from lichens. Werewolves learned precision striking from death dealers. And both learned the brutal efficiency of Yautja combat philosophy from a hunter who knew his time was measured in days, not weeks. Carthan taught them the art of the ambush, how to lay traps that played on Yautja pride and honor codes, how to force hunters into situations where their technology became a liability rather than an advantage, how to turn their own tactics against them. Yautja respects strength, he explained, his voice growing hoarser with each session. But they also respect cunning. They will not use full technology against prey they consider weak. They handicap themselves to make hunt fair. This is weakness. This is how you win. Selene absorbed every word, translating them into tactical doctrine. She'd become the bridge between the three leaders, the one who could speak to Victor's strategic mind, Lucian's revolutionary spirit, and Carthan's warrior philosophy. She hadn't chosen this role, but it had chosen her. On the 55th day, Carthan collapsed during a training session. His body was shutting down. The toxins had accumulated past the point of tolerance. Singe examined him with grim professionalism. "Hours," the lichen scientist said quietly. "Maybe a day. His cellular structure is breaking down. There's nothing I can do." Carthan waved away the concern. "Expected this, accepted this. Question is, am I prepared you enough?" "The ships arrive tomorrow," Lucian said, standing over the dying hunter. "We'll find out then." "No," Carthan struggled to sit up, refusing Seleni's help. "You find out now. Final lesson, most important lesson." He looked around at the assembled vampires and lichens. "Code says hunt must be fair, says prey must have chance, says honor comes from victory over worthy opponent." He paused, mandibles clicking weakly. "But code is tool, not rule, not law, just tool powerful use to control weak." Victor leaned forward, interested. "You're saying your people's honor code is a lie?" "Saying honor code is what you make it, what you choose to follow, or choose to break." Carthan's eyes burned with intensity despite his failing body. "I am bad blood because I followed code's spirit instead of letter, because I showed mercy where council wanted slaughter, because I chose what was right over what was ordered." "And they condemned you for it," Selene said quietly. "Yes, but condemnation means nothing if you are strong enough to reject it, if you have clan that supports you, pack that believes in you." He looked around at the mixed force. "You are my clan now, my pack, my people, and I tell you, make own code, choose own honor. Do not let others define what you can become." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. These immortals had spent centuries following codes written by elders long dead. Victor's laws, Lucian's revolution, ancient rules that governed every aspect of their existence. But what if they could write new rules, create new codes, become something unprecedented? Marcus spoke up, a young vampire who'd lost his entire coven to lichen attacks. "If we make our own code, what stops us from becoming monsters? What prevents us from losing what makes us better than animals?" "Each other," Carthan replied. "Pack keeps pack honest. Clan keeps clan honorable. You fight for each other, not for rules. You protect each other, not for orders. This is true honor. This is true strength." Sonya, the lichen female, stepped forward. "My family was K. Illed by vampires, my sister, my mother, everyone I loved. How do I fight beside the species that murdered them? How do I call them pack?" Selene answered before Carthan could. "Because I've killed lichens, hundreds of them. Maybe one of them was your family and you could kill me for that, you probably should, but if you do, then nothing changes. The cycle continues, forever, or," she paused, meeting Sonya's eyes, "or we choose to be something new, something better. We carry our dead with us, but we don't let them chain us to revenge. We honor them by surviving, by building something they never got to see." Tears streamed down Sonya's face, but she nodded. "I'll try for them, I'll try." Similar conversations rippled through the assembled forces. Old wounds reopening, old hatred surfacing, but also new understanding, new possibilities. The pain didn't vanish, but it became bearable when shared, when acknowledged, when placed in service of something larger than vengeance. Carthan watched it all with satisfaction. This was his legacy, not trophies, not kills, but this. The birth of something unprecedented, a new species, not vampire, not lichen, not yotja, but all of them combined into something that might actually survive what was coming. As night fell, the sensors detected the hunting ships entering orbit. 3 vessels, just as Carthan had predicted. They circled the planet like sharks, scanning for their prey, preparing their descent. The commanders of each ship broadcast their intentions in Yachtja, which Carthan translated for the assembled force. Ship 1, I am Grakther the Bone Collector. I come for the bad blood who slew Dajti. I will take his skull and mount it on my ship as warning to all who break our codes. Ship 2, I am Quabajak the Silent Death. I hunt the defiler of sacred laws. His flesh will rot untaken. His name will be forgotten, his existence erased. Ship 3, I am Enrachidi the Blood Moon. I seek the one who taught prey our secrets. For this crime I will cleanse this world. No witnesses, no survivors, total purification. The third message sent chills through even the most hardened warriors. Total purification meant genocide. Every vampire, every lichen, every human in the region, all dead to prevent Yachtja's secrets from spreading. Enrachidi is zealot, Carthan explained. Believes only pure Yachtja should know our ways. Will kill everything to maintain that purity. Most dangerous of three, must fall first. How do we prioritize? Victor asked, his tactical mind already working. We can't fight all three simultaneously. We don't, Selene said, an idea forming. We use their honor codes against them, challenge them to single combat, make it personal, force them to come down one at a time instead of attacking as a group. They'll never accept, Lucian objected. We're prey, we don't get to issue challenges. Carthan does, Selene countered, looking at the dying hunter. He's Yachtja, bad blood or not, he has the right to challenge. He can call them out, make it about honor and pride and proving who's the better hunter. Carthan's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. Clever. Use their own rules to separate them, but problem, I am dying. Cannot fight even one, let alone three. You don't have to, Selene replied. You just have to make the challenge, we'll do the fighting. We're your clan now, remember, your pack, we fight for you, in your name, with your honor. The audacity of the plan was breathtaking. Prey fighting duels in the name of a condemned hunter, using Yachtja codes to force Yachtja compliance. It was insane, impossible, completely against everything the hunters believed. Which meant it might actually work. Carthan struggled to his feet, supported by Selene and Singe. He activated his ship's communication array one final time, broadcasting to the 3 hunting vessels. I am Carthan of Clan Shadow, called Bad Blood by corrupt council. I hear your challenges, I accept your hunts, but we do this with honor, with code. One at a time, you against my chosen champions. We fight until death. Winner takes all. Loser becomes trophy. Are you brave enough to accept, or do you fear prey that fights back? The response came almost immediately, not in words but in action. The 3 ships began to argue among themselves, broadcasting in Yachtja, competing for the right to hunt first. The honor of killing the bad blood and his champions was too great to share. Finally, a decision. Grakther would descend first. The Bone Collector would face Carthan's champions in single combat. If he won, the others would get their turns. If he lost, well, no one expected him to lose. He was a blooded hunter with dozens of successful kills. The prey he faced were just cattle that happened to have weapons. Grakther's ship descended, landing in the clearing where Dajti had fallen. The Yachtja emerged, massive and confident, his armor decorated with ones from 100 different species. He looked at the assembled vampires and lichens with contempt. This is Bad Blood's clan, he broadcast in broken English. This is what defends him, pitiful. I will kill you all, take your bones, and mount them as monument to folly of breaking codes. Then prove it, Selene called out, stepping forward. Face me, one-on-one, no tricks, No backup, just hunter against hunter, unless you're afraid. Grakther laughed, the sound harsh and cruel. Female prey challenges me. This is insult, this is mockery. But his mandibles clicked with anticipation. Very well, I accept. And when I kill you, I will wear your skull as mask. Will be fitting end for one so bold. They faced each other in the clearing. Vampire against Yotcha, immortal against alien. Selene carried no guns, no silver. Just her own enhanced strength, speed, and everything Carthan had taught her about fighting his kind. Grakther activated his wrist blades and charged. The battle had begun, and with it, the final test of whether Earth's predators could truly stand against the hunters from the stars. Carthan watched from the edge of the clearing, his body failing but his spirit burning bright. Win or lose, his champions would make the galaxy remember this day, would prove that prey could become predator, that the hunted could become hunters. And if they won, they would reshape the universe's understanding of what Earth's creatures could become. The hunt intensified. Blood and honor met on the battlefield, and the outcome would determine whether a new code was born, or whether the old ways crushed this rebellion as they'd crushed so many before. Selene moved like death itself. Every lesson Carthan had taught her crystallized in this moment. She didn't fight like a vampire anymore, relying on speed and regeneration. She fought like a hunter, using terrain, psychology, and calculated brutality. Grakther's first strike would have decapitated her if she'd been where he expected. But she'd already moved, rolling beneath his blade, coming up behind him, her combat knife finding the gap in his armor that Carthan had shown her. The blade bit deep, green blood spurting. The Yotcha roared, more surprised than hurt. Prey didn't do this. Prey didn't know Yotcha anatomy, didn't know where the armor was weakest. This was wrong, unnatural. Your code made you predictable, Selene said, circling. You handicap yourselves to make the hunt fair, but we don't care about fair. We care about survival. Grakther's mandibles spread in rage. He abandoned technique, charging with pure aggression. Exactly what Selene wanted. She sidestepped, used his momentum against him, drove him toward the trap Lucian's lichens had prepared. Concealed pit. Sharpened stakes at the bottom. Simple, primitive, effective. The Yotcha's foot broke through the camouflaged surface. He caught himself before falling completely, but the moment of imbalance was enough. Selene was on him, her knife finding his throat, the blade forged from metals that Singe had determined would cut Yotcha flesh most efficiently. Grakther died with disbelief in his eyes. Killed by prey, by a female, by tactics that violated every expectation he had about how hunts should proceed. His last thought was that perhaps the bad blood had been right. Perhaps the codes needed to change. But the thought died with him, unspoken, as Selene claimed his biomask as trophy. The watching forces, vampire and lichen both, erupted in savage victory cries. They'd done it. Killed a Yotcha hunter in single combat, proven they could fight back. But Carthan's voice cut through the celebration, weak but urgent. Not over, two more, and they watching, learning. Next will be harder. He was right. In orbit, Quabajak the Silent Death had monitored every second of Grakther's defeat. He'd seen the tactics, the trap, the exploitation of honor codes, and he was adapting. When his ship descended 2 hours later, it came with changes. Automated drones deployed first, scanning the battlefield, identifying and destroying any prepared traps. Thermal sensors swept the area, revealing hidden lichens. Motion detectors tracked every vampire in concealment. Quabajak emerged only when he was certain the field was clear. And when he did, his approach was entirely different from Grakther's arrogant charge. He was methodical, patient. silent as his name implied. "I learned from Grakthar's mistake," he broadcast in perfect English, his translator better than Carthan's. "You are not simple prey. You are evolved predators, dangerous when underestimated, so I will not underestimate. I will kill you with full technology, full power, no handicaps, no mercy." Marcus stepped forward to face him, a death dealer who'd lost his entire team to the first enforcer. "Then let's see if your technology is enough." The battle was brutal and one-sided. Quabajuk used every advantage his equipment provided. His plasma caster Phi read from range, forcing Marcus to dodge constantly. His cloaking device made him invisible, allowing strikes from impossible angles. His net launcher trapped the vampire, the superheated mesh burning through flesh. Marcus was dying. The watching alliance could see it. But before anyone could intervene, Sonya transformed and charged. The female Lycan moved with incredible speed, her enhanced senses tracking the cloaked hunter by sound and displaced air. She tore through his position, claws raking across his armor. Quabajuk decloaked, surprised again, 2 opponents. This violated the single combat agreement. This was. "You said no mercy," Sonya snarled. "No handicaps, so we give you the same. We fight as pack, as clan, and you die alone." More warriors joined the battle. Vampire and Lycan together, coordinating their attacks, covering each other's weaknesses. It wasn't honorable by Yachtja standards. It wasn't fair, but it was effective. Quabajuk fought magnificently, taking down 5 attackers before Lucian himself entered the fray. The Lycan leader, in full werewolf form, matched the hunter's technology with raw power and centuries of combat experience. They traded blows that would have killed normal creatures, each strike drawing blood, each impact cracking bone. Finally, Lucian's jaws found Quabajak's wrist, crushing the plasma caster's controls. The weapon exploded, taking the hunter's arm with it. Disabled, wounded, and surrounded, the silent death made his choice. He activated his self-destruct device. But Singe had anticipated this. The Lycan scientist threw a device of his own design, an electromagnetic pulse generator built from salvaged Yachtja technology. It detonated first, frying Quabajuk systems, disabling the self-destruct before it could activate. The hunter collapsed, defeated but alive. Prisoners were rare in Yachtja culture. Being taken alive was the ultimate dishonor. Quabajuk looked at Lucian with something approaching respect. "Kill me," he demanded. "Do not shame me with capture." "No," Lucian replied, reverting to human form. "You live, you watch. You see what prey becomes when it refuses to die, and you carry that knowledge back to your people. You tell them Earth is not hunting ground anymore. It's defended territory, and we defend our own." The decision shocked both the Yachtja and the Alliance members. Victor looked like he wanted to protest, to demand execution. But even he recognized the strategic value. A living witness was worth more than a dead trophy. Quabajuk was imprisoned in reinforced cells beneath the Lycan compound. And in orbit, Enratchety, the Blood Moon, watched with growing fury. 2 hunters defeated. 1 dead, 1 captured. The Bad Blood's prey had accomplished the impossible, which meant they had to die, all of them, immediately. Enratchety didn't wait for his turn in single combat, didn't honor the challenge structure. Instead, he deployed everything his ship carried: hunter drones, automated turrets, biological weapons designed to kill vampires and werewolves specifically. "You want war," he broadcast. "I give you war. I give you extermination. I give you what happens when prey forgets its place." The assault began at dawn. Drones swept through the forest, firing on anything that moved. Turrets locked onto heat signatures, plasma bolts incinerating vampires before they could reach cover. And worst of all, the biological weapon, an aerosolized virus specifically engineered to attack the unique cellular structure of both vampire and lichen physiology. Death dealers began coughing blood. Lichens collapsed mid-transformation, their bodies rejecting the change. The alliance that had stood against two hunters was being decimated by an enemy that refused to fight fair. Carthan watched from his medical bed in the cave, his own body finally giving out. Singe worked desperately to keep him alive, but even the scientist's skill had limits. The hunter was dying, hours at most. "Must stop virus," Carthan gasped. "Must destroy ship only way." "How?" Selene demanded, kneeling beside him. "We have no anti-air weapons, no way to reach orbit. We're being slaughtered down here while he stays safe up there." Carthan's hand moved weakly to his chest, to a device built into his armor. "Recall beacon, can call ship down, can make it land, but," he coughed, green blood spraying, "need to be activated manually, need to reach my old ship's wreckage, and need Yacha biometrics to activate." Understanding dawned on Selene's face. "You need to go yourself. In your condition, through a war zone to wreckage that's being bombarded by drones. That's suicide." "Yes," Carthan's mandibles clicked weakly. "But his only way, and I am dead already, just matter of when. Better to die saving clan than in bed like weak prey." Victor entered the cave at that moment, his clothing singed from plasma fire, his face grim. "Half my death dealers are infected. They're dying. We need a solution now, or this alliance ends in extinction." "I'm going," Selene said, standing. "I'll carry him to the wreckage, activate the beacon, bring that ship down." "You'll be killed before you get halfway there," Victor objected. "Then we make a path." Lucian appeared at the cave entrance, wounded but unbowed. "Every lichen who can still fight, every vampire who can still move. We create a corridor, get them through, whatever the cost." "You're talking about sacrificing dozens of lives for a dying alien and one death dealer," Victor said coldly. "I'm talking about saving everyone who's left," Lucian shot back. "This isn't about numbers, it's about winning, and we can't win if that ship stays in the air." The two leaders locked eyes. The old hatred simmered beneath, but so did new understanding, new respect. They'd fought together, bled together, lost warriors together. The war between them felt distant now, almost quaint compared to the extinction they currently faced. "Do it," Victor said finally. "All forces, full commitment, get them to that wreckage, whatever it takes." The word spread quickly. Every surviving warrior understood the mission. Create a path, hold it open, let Selene and Carthan through, simple, brutal, likely fatal for everyone involved. But they accepted it, because Carthan had taught them more than combat tactics. He taught them what it meant to be clan, to sacrifice for the pack, to die for something bigger than yourself. Selene lifted the dying hunter in her arms, surprised by how light he felt. The massive warrior who'd killed enforcers and trained an army was wasting away, his body consuming itself. But his eyes still burned with determination. "Ready?" she asked. "Was born ready," Carthan replied, his mandibles clicking one last time in defiance of death itself. They emerged from the cave into hell. Plasma fire cut through the air. Drones swarmed overhead. The virus hung like mist, killing anything that breathed it, and through it all the Alliance charged. Vampires and lichens ran side by side, creating a corridor of bodies and sacrifice. Marcus fell first, his chest blown open by plasma fire, but his death bought 3 seconds of cover. Sonya went down next, her transformation incomplete, her body riddled with drone fire, but her sacrifice cleared a path forward. One by one, the warriors fell, each death meaningless in isolation, each sacrifice priceless in aggregate. They were buying time with blood, purchasing hope with lives, and they did it without hesitation, without regret, because Carthan had shown them how. Selene ran through the corridor of dying warriors, tears streaming down her face, the weight of their sacrifice almost too much to bear. But she didn't stop, couldn't stop. Their deaths would mean nothing if she failed. The wreckage of Carthan's original ship appeared ahead, half buried in the crater where it had first crashed. Drones converged on their position, sensing the importance of their target. Plasma bolts struck all around them. One hit Selene's leg, nearly severing it. She stumbled, almost dropped Carthan, but strong hands caught her. Reyes, Lucian's second-in-command who died in the first Enforcer battle. No, not Reyes. Reyes was dead. This was another Lycan, younger, unnamed, giving his life to support them. "Go!" the Lycan screamed, transforming, throwing himself at the drones, buying precious seconds. Selene reached the wreckage, laying Carthan on the remains of his command console. The hunter's hands moved across the controls, bypassing damaged systems, rerouting power, activating the recall beacon. "Done," he gasped. "Ship will come, we'll think automated recall, we'll land here. Then..." He looked at her and she saw peace in his dying eyes. "Then you know what to do." Selene understood. The ship would land and they would need to breach it, board it, kill Enrachidite before he could take off again. A suicide mission that would fall to whoever survived the corridor run. Which, looking around at the carnage, might be no one. But then reinforcements arrived. Not from the Alliance, from an unexpected source. The imprisoned Quabajuk, freed from his cell by Singe, leading a group of the infected death dealers and Lycans who'd chosen to use their last moments fighting rather than dying in darkness. "You showed mercy," the Silent Death said to Selene in his accented English. "Against all codes you spared enemy. Now enemy repays debt. We fight for you. We die for you. We show Enrachidite what happens when Zealot forgets honor." The ship began its descent, drawn by the beacon, expecting to find Carthan alive and needing extraction. Instead, it would find a war zone, and warriors ready to storm it. Victor and Lucian reached the wreckage together, both wounded, both exhausted, but both still fighting. They looked at the descending ship, at the assembled forces, at the dying hunter who'd brought them all to this moment. "Whatever happens next," Victor said quietly, "this was worth it, seeing what we could become, what we did become." "We're not dead yet," Lucian replied, "and neither is the Alliance. We finish this together." The ship landed with a roar of engines and displaced air. The boarding ramp began to lower, and every surviving warrior prepared for the final assault. Carthan watched them, his vision fading, his body finally surrendering. But he smiled beneath his mask, smiled because he saw what they'd become. Not vampire, not Lycan, not even Yautja. Something new, something unprecedented, something that would make the galaxy itself take notice. His last thought before darkness took him was simple: they will remember this day. They will remember what Prey became. They will remember. And then he was gone. The last of his life spent, his body still, his hunt ended. But his legacy was just beginning. The boarding ramp touched ground, and Enrachidite emerged expecting compliance. Instead, he found defiance incarnate. Dozens of warriors, vampire, Lycan, and one honor-bound Yautja prisoner, charged his position with absolute commitment to violence. The Blood Moon was a zealot, but he wasn't a fool. He retreated into his ship, activating defensive systems, his mandibles clicking in fury. You dare board sacred vessel. You dare defile Yacha technology with your presence. I will burn you all. Try, Selene snarled, leading the charge up the ramp. Behind her, the infected warriors followed, their bodies failing but their will unbroken. They had hours left, maybe less, but hours were enough. The ship's interior was a maze of corridors and chambers, all designed for beings larger than humans. The Alliance forces split up, each team assigned targets that Quay Bajak had identified. Engine room, weapons control, life support, bridge. Selene's team headed for the bridge. With her were Victor, Lucian, and 3 infected death dealers who'd volunteered knowing they wouldn't survive. The corridor leading to command was a killing field, automated defenses firing continuously. The first death dealer threw himself at a turret, his body absorbing the plasma fire meant for others. He died instantly, but the turret overheated, its rapid-fire cycle exceeding designed limits. The second and third warriors did the same at subsequent choke points, buying passage with their lives. By the time Selene, Victor, and Lucian reached the bridge, they were alone. The entire assault team was dead, but they'd succeeded. The path was clear. Enrachidite waited for them, standing before his command console, plasma caster armed, wrist blades extended. 3 of you, against me, on my ship, surrounded by my technology. Do you understand how this ends? Yes, Victor said calmly, with you dead and your ship in our possession. The Blood Moon laughed. Arrogant prey, you have no idea what I am, what I represent. I am chosen of the council, blessed by the ancients. I am purity incarnate. You're a fanatic, Lucian growled. And fanatics always make the same mistake. You believe your cause makes you invincible, but belief doesn't stop claws, doesn't stop teeth, doesn't stop those who fight for each other instead of ideology. Enough talk, Selene said. We end this now. They attacked in perfect coordination. Victor's enhanced speed allowed him to dodge plasma fire and strike at Enrachidite's flank. Lucian transformed mid-charge, his werewolf form utilizing the corridor's confined space to limit the Yacha's movement. And Selene moved like Carthan had taught her, exploiting gaps, finding weaknesses, fighting not with vampire instinct but with learned hunter's precision. The battle raged across the bridge. Consoles exploded from mist plasma shots. Blood, red, green, and purple painted the walls. Enrachidite fought like a demon, his skill and technology matching 3 opponents simultaneously. But he was alone, and they were pack. Victor's distraction created an opening. Lucian's power drove Enrachidite off balance, and Selene's blade, forged from Yacha metal and coated with Singe's anti-healing compound, found the hunter's spine. The Blood Moon fell, paralyzed from the waist down, his weapons clattering away. He looked up at his killers with hate and disbelief. Impossible, he rasped. Prey cannot, should not. We're not prey anymore, Selene said quietly. We're whatever we choose to be, and we choose to survive. She raised her blade for the killing stroke, but Lucian stopped her. Wait, we need information, the council, the Yacha. They need to know what happened here, why it happened, and he's going to tell them. Enrachidite's mandibles spread in contempt. I tell you nothing. Council will send more, dozens more, hundreds. You killed 3 hunters. You think this ends? No, Victor said, his strategic mind already working ahead. But we make them understand the cost. Make them decide if Earth is worth the losses they'll take trying to claim it. You're going to help us. Deliver that message. I would die first. Then die, Lucian replied. But die knowing that your death means nothing, that your purity crusade failed, That prey evolved past you, that everything you believed was wrong. The word struck deeper than any blade. For a zealot, futility was worse than death. Enrachidit's entire existence was built on the certainty of Yautja superiority. Seeing it disproven, seeing prey become predator, shattered his worldview more completely than any injury. What do you want?" he finally whispered. "We want the Council to leave Earth alone," Selene said. "We want recognition that we're not hunting grounds, that we're sovereign, that we defend our own." "Council will never agree. We'll see you as threat to be eliminated." "Then we eliminate them first," Victor said coldly. "You're going to show us how to reach them, how to strike at their heart. And you're going to do it because the alternative is watching everything you believe in crumble while you're helpless to stop it." It was a calculated gamble. Breaking a zealot required giving them hope, then threatening to take it away. Enrachidite valued purity above life, but he valued the Council's survival above purity. If he could preserve the Yautja by sacrificing his principles, he would. Slowly, painfully, he nodded. "I will help, but know this, what you plan is suicide. Council is defended by the best hunters across hundreds of worlds. You will die screaming." "Maybe," Lucian agreed, "but we'll die free, and we'll take enough of you with us that the survivors remember." While the bridge drama unfolded, Singe's team had reached the engine room. The Lycan scientists studied the Yautja power systems with fascination and horror. The technology was centuries beyond anything Earth had produced, but it was also vulnerable in ways its creators hadn't anticipated. "I can modify this," he told his team. "Can create a weapon, something that will transmit a signal across Yautja communication networks, a virus, not biological, informational. It would spread through their systems, showing them what happened here, forcing them to watch, to understand." "Do it," one of the infected death dealers said. "We're dead anyway, might as well make it count." Singe worked feverishly, his Lycan strength failing as the virus consumed him from within. But his mind remained sharp, guided by desperation and purpose. He created something unprecedented, a message encoded at quantum level, impossible to delete or suppress, that would propagate through every Yautja network it touched. The message would contain everything: Carthan's stand, the Alliance's formation, the three hunters' defeats, proof that Earth's predators had evolved past prey status, evidence that the old codes no longer guaranteed Yautja supremacy. It would shake their civilization to its core. "Ready," Singe gasped, blood flowing from his mouth. "But someone needs to activate it, manually, and whoever does won't survive the energy discharge." His team looked at each other, all infected, all dying, all understanding what was being asked. "We do it together," they decided. "We send this message as one, vampire and Lycan united. Let the galaxy see what we became." They activated the transmission at precisely the moment Selene's team secured the bridge. The energy pulse that resulted was visible from orbit, a column of light shooting into space, carrying its payload across the cosmos. Singe died with a smile on his face. His team died beside him, united in purpose, united in sacrifice, united in the knowledge that their deaths would echo across the stars. On the bridge, Enrachidite felt the pulse and understood what had happened. "You madness," he whispered. "You doom us all. Council will see this as act of war." "Good," Victor replied. "Let them come, we'll be ready." But Selene felt uncertainty creeping in. They'd won this battle, but at catastrophic cost. Hundreds of vampires dead, dozens of Lycans gone, their greatest scientists sacrificed. Carthan, the hunter who'd made this possible, cold in the wreckage below. Was this victory, or just delayed defeat? Lucian seemed to read her thoughts. "We survived," he said quietly. "Against impossible odds we survived. That's not nothing, that's everything." They emerged from the ship to find what remained of their forces gathered in the clearing. Maybe 30 vampires, perhaps 20 lichens, and Quay Bajuk, the captured hunter who'd fought for them, standing among the dead with respect in his eyes. "You are truly warriors," he said in his accented English. "Truly honorable. I will speak for you to council, will tell them what I witnessed. May not help, but will try." "Thank you," Selene said and meant it. They buried their dead as the sun rose, vampire and lichen together in a mass grave that would mark this battle site forever. And at the center, given highest honor, they placed Carthan's body, the alien hunter who taught them to be me more than what they were. Victor spoke words over the grave, his voice carrying across the assembled survivors. "We came here as enemies. We leave as clan. We entered as predator and prey. We emerge as something new. These dead gave us that gift. This alliance is their legacy, and we will honor it by surviving, by building, by becoming what they died to create." It was the closest thing to sentiment Victor had shown in centuries, and it was enough. But as they left the grave site, Selene noticed something. Carthan's ship was transmitting, not the message Singe had created, something else. Something that had been running on automated protocols since the hunter's death. She accessed the system, translating the Yotja text with knowledge Carthan had taught her, and what she found made her blood run cold. It was a log, Carthan's personal record, and it contained information he'd never shared. The real reason the council had condemned him, the real reason he'd been sent to Earth. He'd discovered something, a conspiracy within the Yotja leadership, a plan to exterminate entire species across the galaxy, not for honor or sport, but for control, for dominance. The hunt was being perverted from sacred ritual to genocidal conquest. Carthan had objected, had tried to expose the truth, and for that he'd been labeled bad blood, sent to die, silenced. But he'd left this log, this evidence, uploaded to the same network Singe's message had used. It would reach every Yotja in the galaxy, would force them to confront what their leadership had become. It would start a civil war. Selene looked at the data, understanding the full implications. They hadn't just survived a hunt, they'd sparked a revolution. The message spreading through Yotja networks wasn't just showing Earth's defiance. It was revealing corruption at the highest levels of an interstellar civilization. The galaxy would never be the same. And Earth, this small blue world with its vampire-like alliance, had just become the match that lit an inferno across the stars. "What is it?" Victor asked, seeing her expression. "Everything," Selene replied. "Everything just changed." And in orbit above, in ships scattered across a dozen systems, Yotja hunters began receiving messages that would force them to question everything they'd ever known about honor, duty, and the hunt itself. The convergence was complete. The war had ended, but something far larger was just beginning. The aftermath of the transmission rippled across Yotja civilization like a plague. Ships that had been en route to Earth suddenly stopped, their crews arguing over the validity of Carthan's evidence. Entire clans split between those who believed the Bad Blood's accusations and those who saw them as desperate lies. On Earth, the Alliance watched the chaos unfold through the captured ships' communication arrays. They saw Yotja attacking Yotja, saw ancient rivalries explode into open warfare, saw the carefully maintained facade of unified honor collapse into bitter factionalism. "We did this," Lucian said, watching reports of battles light years away. "We broke their society." "Carthan did this," Victor corrected. We just survived long enough to deliver his message. The breaking was already there. We simply revealed it. Quabajuk stood with them, studying the reports with complex emotions crossing his scarred face. "Council will blame you," he said quietly. "We'll say Earth corrupted Sacred Hunter. We'll make you target to unite factions against common enemy." "Let them come," Selene replied, though her voice carried less certainty than her words. "We beat 3 hunters. We can beat more." "You beat 3 individual hunters with element of surprise and prepared defenses," the Silent Death countered. "If Council sends Armada, sends coordinated assault, you will fall. Is only matter of time." The grim truth settled over them. They'd won a battle but might have doomed themselves in the process. The Yautja Civil War would eventually resolve, and when it did, the victorious faction would need to prove their strength. What better target than the world that had sparked the crisis? For 3 days they prepared, fortified positions, created more weapons using captured Yautja technology, trained new warriors in the tactics that had proven effective, but everyone knew it was futile. They were preparing to resist an avalanche with umbrellas. On the 4th day, everything changed. A ship appeared in orbit, not Yautja, something else entirely, massive, organic-looking, broadcasting in frequencies that made Earth's communication systems scream with feedback. Victor assembled the Alliance leadership, what remained of it, in the captured Hunter ship's bridge. They watched the alien vessel through sensors, trying to comprehend what they were seeing. "It's alive," Sinja's apprentice, a young Lycan named Mikkel who'd survived by staying in the labs, explained, studying the readings. "The ship isn't technology, it's a living organism, grown, not built, and it's scanning the planet." "Looking for what?" Lucian demanded. The answer came through their communication systems, not in English, Yautja, or any language they recognized. But somehow they understood it. The meaning impressed directly into their minds through methods that bypassed normal comprehension. "We are the preservers. We maintain balance across the galaxy. We monitor the Yautja to ensure their hunt serves cosmic equilibrium rather than disruption." Carthan's message reached us. His evidence confirms our suspicions. The Council has broken their compact, has perverted the sacred hunt. Victor found his voice first. "Who are you? What do you want with us?" "We are those who gave the Yautja their codes, their honor, their purpose. We are their creators, and we have come to judge whether they still serve the function for which they were designed." The revelation was staggering. The Yautja, these apex predators who terrorize species across the galaxy, were themselves created by something older, something more powerful, and Earth had drawn its attention. "We do not seek your judgment," Victor said carefully. "We seek only to be left alone, to survive, to defend our sovereignty." "You have earned that right. You and your alliance represent evolution in action, predator species cooperating rather than competing. This is rare, valuable, worth preserving." A pause, and when the preserver continued, its mental voice carried weight that pressed against their consciousness. "But the Yautja will not leave you alone. Their pride demands retribution. Their codes demand cleansing. You will be hunted until extinction unless we intervene." "Then intervene," Lucian said bluntly. "Save us from your creations." "We could, but that would rob you of agency, make you pets rather than partners. We offer a different solution. We offer you the final hunt." Selene felt her heart race. What is the final hunt? The Yautja civilization is splitting. 2 factions, those who honor the old codes that Carthan followed, and those who serve the corrupt council. Whichever faction proves stronger will claim dominance, will set the course for their species' future. The Preserver's presence seemed to intensify. "We offer Earth the chance to determine which faction prevails. You will face champions from both sides. Defeat them and the faction that sent honorable warriors will receive our support. Fail, and we withdraw our protection. Let the Yautja resolve their conflict by exterminating you. It was insane, impossible, a death sentence dressed up as opportunity. But looking around at the assembled leaders, Selene saw the same calculation in everyone's eyes. They were dead anyway. This at least gave them a chance. What are the terms? Victor asked. 3 champions from each Yautja faction. 6 total. Your alliance may field any number of warriors. The hunts will take place over 3 days. Any location on Earth you choose. Winners determined by survival. If your champions live and theirs die, you win. If even one Yautja survives and all yours fall, you lose. And the stakes, Lucian pressed. For you, survival or extinction. For the Yautja, the future of their civilization. For the galaxy, precedent. Proof that prey can become predator, that evolution is not fixed, that the cosmic order can be challenged. The Preserver's mental voice carried something that might have been excitement. We have not seen such possibility in 10,000 years. We are curious to witness the outcome. The alliance leaders withdrew to debate. Arguments erupted immediately. This was suicide. This was opportunity. This was a trap. This was salvation. Every perspective had merit. Every voice carried weight of experience and loss. Finally, Selene spoke. Carthan taught us that honor is what we make it, that codes are tools, not prisons, that we choose what we become. She looked around at the gathered vampires and lichens, at Quabajak standing silently in the corner. We've already died for this alliance. Hundreds of us. What's 6 more champions if it means the survivors build something worth surviving for? 6 champions facing 6 Yautja hunters, Victor said slowly. Even with everything we've learned, the odds are catastrophic. The odds were catastrophic when we faced Grakther, Lucian countered. When we boarded Enrachadit's ship. When we stood against 3 hunting parties with a dying alien as our only advantage. We survived because we adapted, because we became pack. This is no different. This is exactly different, Victor argued. This is sanctioned, formal. The Yautja will send their absolute best. No handicaps, no mercy, pure skill against pure skill. Then we send our best, Selene said. We choose champions who embody everything this alliance has become. We choose warriors who fight not for vampire or lichen, but for survival itself. The debate continued for hours, but Eve. In Thule, consensus emerged. They would accept the final hunt, would choose 6 champions, would stake everything on one last desperate gamble. The champions were selected through brutal honesty, not the strongest alone, not the fastest or most skilled, but those who represented the Alliance's evolution, its hybrid nature, its transcendence of old categories. Selene, death dealer turned revolutionary, vampire who fought like a hunter. Lucian, lichen leader who'd learned patience from vampire tactics. Mika, the young scientist who'd survived through intelligence rather than strength. Twin vampires named Adrian and Arya who fought as a single unit, their coordination flawless. And Quabajak, the silent death who'd been prisoner and became ally, Yautja who fought for prey. 6 champions, 3 species, 1 alliance. The Preserver approved their choices. The hunts begin in 3 days. The corrupt council sends their champions first. These are zealots, true believers. They will show no mercy, expect no honor. They fight to exterminate. A pause. But the honorable faction sends different warriors. These follow Carthan's path, see you as worthy, will fight with respect even as they try to kill you. How do we prepare for both? Mikkel asked. You cannot, the Preserver replied. You simply survive, or you do not. The galaxy watches. The outcome determines far more than your individual lives. The 3 days passed in intensive preparation. Each champion trained against the others, learning patterns, exposing weaknesses. They studied every scrap of Yautja knowledge they'd accumulated, watched recordings of previous fights, analyzed failures and successes. But more importantly, they prepared mentally, accepted that death was probable, made peace with sacrifice, understood that their deaths might mean more than their lives ever had. On the eve of the first hunt, Selene found Victor standing alone in what remained of his fortress. The ancient vampire looked diminished somehow, smaller, more human than she'd ever seen him. "I was wrong," he said without looking at her. "About everything, the war with the Lycans, the rigid hierarchies, the belief that our way was the only way." He turned, meeting her eyes. "Carthan showed us what we could become, but you showed us how to get there, how to transcend what we were." "I just survived," Selene replied, "same as everyone." "No, you chose. Every step you chose alliance over orders, chose change over tradition, chose to believe we could be better." Victor smiled, the expression foreign on his ancient face. "If we lose tomorrow, I want you to know, you made my last days worth living. You reminded me what it felt like to be part of something rather than just ruling it." Selene felt tears she didn't know she could still cry. "We're not losing tomorrow. We're going to fight. We're going to win. And we're going to build something that makes all the death worthwhile." "Perhaps," Victor agreed. "But if not, I'm glad I got to see this. See you. See what 600 years of service finally produced." They stood together in comfortable silence, vampire lord and rebellious servant, watching the stars where Yautja's ships gathered for judgment. Tomorrow, the final hunt would begin, and the galaxy would learn whether Earth's predators had truly evolved past prey, whether alliance could overcome inevitability, whether sacrifice had meaning beyond simple death. The answer waited in the darkness, and it would be written in blood, red, green, and the hope that perhaps, just perhaps, the impossible could become real. The first hunt began at dawn in the ruins of an ancient cathedral, chosen because its enclosed space favored coordination over individual power. The corrupt council sent their first champion, Dha Keta the Bone Breaker, a massive Yautja who'd taken trophies from over 300 kills across 50 worlds. He faced Adrian and Arya, the twin vampires who fought as one mind in 2 bodies. The battle was savage and brief. The twins used the cathedral's architecture perfectly, attacking from angles that forced the hunter to divide his attention. But Dha Keta's experience showed. He adapted mid-battle, used his plasma caster to collapse pillars, forced them into open ground where his superior strength dominated. Arya died first, her spine severed by wrist blades that moved too fast to dodge. Adrian's scream of loss echoed through the ruins, and for a moment he forgot everything they'd learned. Forgot tactics, forgot coordination, forgot everything but rage. Dha Keta killed him methodically, almost sadly, as if disappointed that prey had reverted to predictable patterns. 2 champions down, 4 remaining, and the second day hadn't even begun. The Alliance gathered in mourning that night. The loss hit hard, not just emotionally but strategically. They were already outnumbered, already facing impossible odds. Losing their first engagement was a devastating blow to morale. "Boo!" T. Lucian reminded them of perspective. "We knew this would cost everything. We knew most of us would die. The twins gave us information, showed us what doesn't work, made the path clearer for those who come after." Cold comfort, but comfort nonetheless. The second hunt took place in the forest where Carthan had first crashed. The honorable faction sent their first champion, Rakai, the Swift Shadow, a female Yotja who'd objected to the council's corruption and paid with exile. She faced Mikkel, the young Lycan scientist. Everyone expected it to be a slaughter. The scientist against a seasoned hunter. David versus Goliath without the sling. But Mikkel had spent his life studying rather than fighting, had learned to use his mind as his primary weapon. He'd prepared the battlefield with traps built from Yotja technology, devices that exploited weaknesses in their biomasks and cloaking systems. Rakai fell into the first trap, her leg caught in an energy net that Mikkel had reverse-engineered from Quabajak's teachings. She cut herself free, but the delay allowed Mikkel to position for his second trap, and his third, and his fourth. He didn't fight her. He exhausted her, wore her down, made the superior warrior waste energy and resources until she made a mistake. And when she did, when she stumbled in frustration and fatigue, Mikkel was there with a blade forged from her own people's technology. Rakai died with respect in her eyes. "Clever prey," she said with her last breath. "Carthan taught you well." 2 champions down on each side. The balance maintained, but the cost was evident in everyone's faces. The third day brought 2 hunts. The corrupt council sent Cathra the Flayer, a hunter who specialized in psychological warfare and slow kills. He faced Quabajuk in what should have been Yotja fighting Yotja, honor against honor. But Cathra didn't see honor. He saw a traitor, saw a betrayer of the species, and he fought with hatred that transcended any code. The battle raged across the Lycan compound, destroying everything in its path. Both hunters were evenly matched in skill and technology, but Cathra had rage while Quabajuk fought with purpose. In the end, purpose won. Quabajuk killed his opponent with a move that Carthan had taught Selene, who'd taught him, a technique that crossed species lines, that merged vampire precision with Lycan power with Yotja efficiency. Cathra died confused, unable to comprehend how prey techniques could defeat pure Yotja skill. The honorable faction's second champion was Gara the Elder, a hunter so old he'd known the Preservers personally. He faced Lucian in open combat, werewolf against warrior, in the same clearing where Carthan had fought the Enforcer. They fought for 6 hours. No tricks, no traps, pure skill and strength. Lucian took wounds that would have killed normal Lycans. Gara sustained damage that would have ended lesser Yotja. They pushed each other past all limits, beyond all endurance. Finally, as the sun set, they struck simultaneously. Lucian's claws found Gara's heart. Gara's wrist blade pierced Lucian's throat. Both warriors fell together, dying within seconds of each other. It was called a draw. Both factions lost a champion, but the alliance lost its leader. The revolutionary who'd started this impossible journey was gone. Victor arrived to find Lucian's body reverting to human form, the Lycan's face peaceful despite the violence of his death. The ancient vampire knelt beside his former enemy, his hand on Lucian's shoulder. "You were right," Victor whispered. "About all of it. I'm sorry it took me so long to see." 3 champions remained, Selene, Quabajuk, and 2 Yotja, one from each faction for the final hunts. The corrupt council sent their last champion, Jira the Deathless, who'd never lost a hunt in 2 centuries. She was everything the Zealots represented, cold, efficient, convinced of absolute Yotja superiority. She faced Quabajuk, who'd already fought and killed one of his own species, who'd proven that honor could cross faction lines. Their battle was scheduled for the next dawn. But that night, Selene found Quabajuk preparing alone. The silent death was wounded from his previous fight, his healing compromised. He wouldn't survive against Jira at full strength. "You're going to die," Selene said quietly. Yes, Quabajak agreed, but we'll make it cost her. We'll weaken her for your fight against Final Champion, is best use of my death. There has to be another way. There is not. He looked at her and she saw peace in his alien eyes. Carthan taught me honor is choice. I choose to die protecting Pack. Choose to make death mean something. Is good death, best death. Selene wanted to argue, to find some alternative, but she'd learned enough about Yautja culture to recognize absolute conviction. Quabajak had made his choice and it was a good one, an honorable one. The next morning he aced Jira with calm acceptance. The battle was one-sided. The Deathless was fresh, powerful, merciless, but Quabajak fought not to win but to wound, to damage, to prepare the battlefield for what came after. He succeeded. Before she killed him, he destroyed her plasma caster, damaged her biomask, and dealt wounds that would compromise her mobility. He died having accomplished exactly what he intended. Jira stood over his body, mandibles clicking in grudging respect. You fought well, traitor, but well is not enough against perfect. We'll see, Selene said, stepping into the clearing. One more fight, you and me. Winner determines which faction prevails. You are prey, Jira replied. Perfect Yautja does not lose to prey. Carthan was perfect Yautja, and he died teaching prey to become predators. You're fighting his legacy now, everything he taught, everything we became. You're not fighting me, you're fighting evolution. The final battle began. Selene used every technique Carthan had taught her, every tactic the Alliance had developed, every advantage that cooperation between species provided. She fought like a vampire with Lycan ferocity and Yautja precision. But Jira was called Deathless for reason. She'd survived 2 centuries of hunts through pure skill and absolute confidence. She matched everything Selene attempted, countered every strategy, predicted every move. The fight dragged on for hours, both warriors accumulating damage, both pushing past their limits, neither willing to concede. Finally, as the sun reached its zenith, Selene saw her opening, not through technique or strength but through understanding. Jira fought for ideology, for proof of superiority, for validation of belief. But Selene fought for memory, for the twins who died, for Mikkel's sacrifice, for Lucian's revolution, for Carthan's legacy. She fought for every death that had brought them to this moment. And fighting for memory was stronger than fighting for ideology. Her blade found Jira's throat. The Deathless fell, disbelief in her eyes, unable to comprehend defeat. But before Selene could celebrate, the honorable faction's final champion emerged. Theron the Wise, oldest and most experienced of the reformed Yautja. He'd watched all the previous battles, learned from every death, adapted to every tactic. He would be the hardest fight yet, and Selene was exhausted, wounded, running on will alone. You fought well, Theron said in perfect English. Honored every warrior who fell, proved Carthan's teachings true, but one more test remains, one more challenge. Are you ready? Selene raised her blade, every muscle screaming, every wound bleeding. I'm ready. They fought in the ruins of Victor's fortress, surrounded by the alliance that had survived. Vampire and Lycan together, watching their last champion face impossible odds. Theron was everything the previous hunters hadn't been, fast as Grakther, silent as Quabajak, honorable as Rakai, wise beyond any opponent Selene had faced. He pushed her past every limit, forced her to dig deeper than she'd ever gone, made her transcend vampire, Lycan, human, made her become something entirely new. The battle raged through the fortress, destroying what remained of Victor's legacy. And as they fought, Selene realized something profound. This wasn't about winning anymore. It was about proving, demonstrating, showing the galaxy what Earth had become. Win or lose, they'd already succeeded. They'd survived. They'd evolved. They'd become pack. With that understanding came clarity. She stopped fighting to win, started fighting to honor, to show respect, to prove that Earth's predators could stand as equals to any in the galaxy. Theron recognized the shift, saw the change in her eyes, and in that moment he made his choice. He stepped back, lowering his weapons. "Enough," he said. "You have proven your worth, proven Carthan's vision. I yield not in defeat but in recognition. You are no longer prey. You are hunters. You are worthy of the stars." The Preserver's presence flooded the battlefield, its mental voice carrying satisfaction that was almost palpable. The final hunt concludes. Earth's alliance has proven itself. The honorable Yautja faction receives our support. The corrupt council will be dissolved, and Earth is granted sovereignty, protected status. No hunting ground, but partner world, equal in the cosmic hierarchy. Selene collapsed, wounds finally overcoming will. Victor caught her, the ancient vampire's face showing emotion she'd never seen before. "You did it," he whispered. "Impossible child, you did it." "We did it," Selene corrected, looking around at the survivors. Maybe 50 vampires, perhaps 30 Lycans, a handful of humans who'd fought alongside them, all that remained of the Alliance. But they'd survived, and they'd changed the galaxy. 5 years later, Selene stood at the grave site where Carthan was buried. The monument had grown. In from simple marker to elaborate memorial. Vampires and Lycans came here to pay respects, to remember the hunter who taught them to transcend themselves. The world had changed. The Alliance had formalized, creating the first unified vampire-Lycan government. Victor served as one leader, a young Lycan named Sonya's daughter as another. They ruled together, equal authority, shared power. The war was over, not forgotten, never forgotten, but over, finished, replaced by cooperation that grew stronger each year. Yautja came to Earth now not as hunters, but as students. The honorable faction, supported by the Preservers, had reformed their entire culture. The hunt remained sacred, but now it served evolution rather than domination, helped species grow rather than die. Carthan's message had reshaped everything. The galaxy knew Earth's story, knew that prey had become predator, that the impossible was possible, that change was not just inevitable but necessary. Selene had become the Alliance's representative to other worlds, the ambassador who carried their story across the stars. She'd seen things Carthan had only described, met species he'd hunted, witnessed civilizations beyond human comprehension. But she always returned here, to this grave, to remember where it started. "Still mourning?" Mikkel asked, approaching with his daughter. The young Lycan scientist had survived, thrived, become one of the Alliance's chief researchers. His work bridging vampire and Lycan genetics had created hybrid vigor neither species possessed alone. "Not mourning," Selene replied. "Remembering there's a difference." "He'd be proud," Mikkel said, "of what we built, what we became." "He'd probably think we're still too soft," Selene laughed. "Still too bound by old thinking. He'd push us to go further." "Then we go further." The voice belonged to Victor, who'd approached silently. The ancient vampire looked younger somehow, despite his centuries. Purpose had given him new life, new meaning. "The Preservers are offering us membership in their coalition," Victor said. "Full recognition, equal status with species that have traveled the stars for millennia. They want our perspective, our experience, our proof that evolution can be guided rather than forced." Selene felt her heart race. We'd be the first Earth species to join. We'd be the first hybrid species, period. Vampire and lichen united, representing something unprecedented. Victor paused. But it's your decision. You're the one who earned this, who proved we were worthy. I didn't earn it alone, Selene said, looking at the monument. At Carthan's name carved in 3 languages, English, Yautja, and the flowing script of the Preservers. We all did, every death, every sacrifice, every choice to be better than we were. Then we all decide, Victor agreed. Democracy, another thing we learned from this alliance. They gathered the council, vampire and lichen leaders, human representatives. Even Theron attended via holographic link, the Yautja elder who'd yielded in the final hunt and become Earth's strongest advocate among his people. The vote was unanimous. Earth would join the Galactic Coalition, would share its story, would offer its lesson to any species willing to learn, that evolution was choice, that enemies could become family, that the impossible was just the unlikely waiting to happen. As the council celebrated, Selene returned to the monument one final time. She placed her hand on the stone, feeling the warmth of the sun-heated surface. "We did it," she whispered. "We survived, we grew, we became what you showed us we could be." She paused. "I hope, wherever you hunt now, whatever targets you stalk in, whatever afterlife awaits, I hope you know it was worth it. Your sacrifice, your death, your legacy." The wind picked up, rustling the leaves. And for just a moment, Selene could have sworn she heard the clicking of mandibles, the approval of a hunter who'd taught prey to become predator, who'd given Earth the greatest gift of all, the freedom to choose what it would become. The monument bore an inscription in all 3 languages, words that Carthan had spoken to Selene in his final days. "Honor is not what you are born with. It is what you choose, what you die for, what you leave behind. Choose well, die nobly, leave the galaxy better than you found it." And Earth had chosen, had died, had left its mark across the stars. In a universe where fate made a single mistake, bringing a dying hunter to a world at war, that mistake had become the catalyst for unprecedented change. The bad blood had taught prey to hunt. The hunted had become hunters, and the galaxy would never be the same. This was Carthan's legacy. This was the Alliance's triumph. This was the proof that evolution, cooperation, and sacrifice could reshape reality itself. The hunt was over, the war was won, and a new chapter was beginning. The stars awaited, and Earth's predators were ready to claw. I am their place among them.